Good evening, College Park. It is Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., November 19, 2024. I'm calling to the order of the regular meeting of the College Park City Council, College Park, Maryland. We'll begin the meeting with a moment of silent meditation followed by Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight, this will be led by Councilmember Hugh. In the meditation, please remember our Assistant City Manager, Bill Gardiner, and his family. Bill Gardiner has lost his father very recently, so please remember him and his family in your thoughts and prayer. Anyone wants to add anything to the meditation? We mentioned that last week, yeah. Thank you. Seeing none, please join me in a moment of silent meditation. Mr. Hugh?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Let's do roll call, starting with Councilmember Hernandez. He's joining online.
Present.
Then Councilmember Hugh.
Here.
Dr. Esters.
Present.
Ms. Whitney.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell also joining online.
Present.
Councilmember Mackey
Present.
and Councilmember Adams also joining online.
Present.
And Councilmember Rigg.
Present.
Let's do the announcement in the same order, starting with Councilmember Hernandez.
Hello, everyone. This week, on Saturday, the College Park Food Bank will be distributing free turkeys and turkey breast from 9 to 11 a.m. for those who are in need this holiday season. You still have an opportunity to donate. Last day to drop off is this Friday, November 22nd. From 4 to 6 p.m., you can drop off your turkeys at 9704 Rhode Island Avenue at the College Park Church of the Nazarene. Their goal is 350. Due to storage capacity limitations, they prefer turkeys that weigh less than 12 pounds, but please reach out if you can donate. Also, this Saturday is the last day of the season for the Hollywood Farmers Market. You can come and enjoy some of the amazing vendors from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Go say hi to Jose at the coffee shop that he has, or Brian with his spirits, or Miss Phyllis with the reefs. Additionally, just because I know that we're going to take a small pause, Al Huda's Helpers Do Good is going to be providing a life rescue training at a senior luncheon on Sunday, December 1st at 11 a.m. They warmly invite seniors aged 60 and over to a special luncheon for both men and women. Join them for some great food, good company, and a relaxing morning together at 5301 Edgewood Road, College Park. You can register on the link if you look it up. So, thanks.
Yeah, if you could post to the chat, that would be appreciated, maybe.
Sure.
Thank you. Thanks for mentioning it. Thank you. Let's go to Councilmember Hill.
Yes, thank you. I echo Councilmember Hernandez's announcements, and I also want to thank everybody who came out for the 50th anniversary celebration of the Youth and Family Services. And that's all I got. I'll save the rest for the closing.
Thank you. We see our Director of Youth and Family Services, Keisha Barber, is here. Please give her a big round of applause and her staff for wonderful work they have been doing for our seniors, youth, and families every day. Thank you. All right, let's go to Dr. Esters.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to share that the Lakeland Civic Association will hold their annual tree lighting on December 8th, which is a Sunday, at 5 p.m. So we encourage those who want to enjoy time together, some great hot cocoa, which is actually really, really good, and some treats to join us.
Thank you. And Ms. Whitney?
Thank you. This Thursday at 7:30 p.m. at virtual
Virtual traditions.
virtual traditions. In Berwyn, there will have the monthly BDCA meetings, so please, Vital Traditions, Vital Traditions, thank you. I don't know why I have a hard time remembering that name. But meeting from 7:30 to 9, and also just wanted to second that appreciation of the 50th anniversary at Youth and Family Services. It was wonderful to tour the facility and to meet the staff. It's something for everyone in College Park to be proud of. It's really a wonderful facility with great people.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell, joining online, please go ahead with your announcement.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to say kudos again to Director Barbara and her staff for the anniversary. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend, but I know you and your staff will continue to do an awesome job and create better impact for the community in College Park. The rest of my comments are yield for this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mackey?
Yes, I just wanted to announce that this Saturday is the last home game for the University of Maryland at 12 noon. So just be mindful of the traffic and remember, remember that open containers are prohibited in the city. And I just want to also give a shout out to our PG County Police Force and our University of Maryland Police Force for the work that they've been doing in many different areas, but they've had some success on the scooters that are being stolen off the campus. And they've also been trying to get just better safety for just all around College Park and giving citations and warnings that for stop sign running and doing poorly on obeying the laws of the road. So I wanted to give them a shout out on that. And there's lots going on. I recommend looking at both of their web pages and looking at the city's webpage to just see. And just to quote Major Coletti, the best way to prevent your car being broken into is making sure it's locked. So and I'm guilty of it as much as probably everyone is, that just make sure you lock your car whenever you're out of it. That'll say, don't break into me. Hopefully that'll keep people from doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey. Let's go to Councilmember Adams, also joining online.
Yes, a few announcements. The Calvert Hills Civic Association has a meeting tomorrow night for their quarterly meeting. It's at 7 p.m. If you want to know more information, go to Weebly.com and the Calvert Hills, calverthills.weebly.com. There's also the Calvert Hills Citizens Association annual holiday tree lighting on December 1st at 5 p.m. It's at the corner of Amherst and Dartmouth, and want to thank city staff for removing the tree that was sick and unhealthy and planting an evergreen tree in its place. It'll serve as a great holiday tree for many years to come. So excited about that. And then also want to let people know, it's a little bit further along, a few weeks from now, but there is a listening session scheduled for December 11th at City Hall regarding the city-owned home and adjacent property on Calvert Road near the trolley trail in Old Town, somewhat near the metro station. So there'll be a listening session, 7 p.m. on December 11th, and we encourage many folks to participate in that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Councilor Rigg.
Pass.
Good. Go to our student liaison, Ms. Ott.
Just for any students in the audience, I want to remind them that the Graduate Student Labor Union is meeting tomorrow at Hornbeck Plaza at 12 p.m. And I would also like to say to thank, from both of us, thank you for having us at the Lakeland Civic Association.
Fantastic. Let's see, go to Anna K. McDonald's. Welcome to the very first meeting at the Deputy Student Liaison.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. I also want to reiterate, thank you so much for having us at the Lakeland meeting. A lot of members of the University of the Maryland community will be off campus next week with the Thanksgiving break, so just wanted to share that with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's go to our city manager's report. Mr. Young.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, residents of College Park. Please join us for the College Park Turkey Trot 5K on Thanksgiving Day at 9 a.m. This free event organized by College Park and Park Walk in partnership with the city and Prince George's Parks and Recreation. We invite you to run or walk along a scenic flat outback route on the Paint Branch Trail. The event is completely free, but you must register ahead of time at bit.ly/College Park Turkey Trot 2024. And Bill will put that in the chat for anybody that wants to get that. You have to get a personal park run barcode, and we look forward to seeing people out there and participate and run that turkey off ahead of time. And we also, this coming Saturday is the last day of the farmers market. Given where we were during our budget session and discussions this year, I've been very happy with the turnout that we've seen this year. Very enlightening for us in terms of the new vendors that we've been able to attract, and as well as residents that had never really experienced our farmers market, and they've come out, and it's really made a difference for our vendors and really made the event very successful. So that's this Saturday again, November the 23rd, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So you can stock up on all your produce that you need for the winter, and we look forward to seeing everyone out there. We also have Bee City College Park will also be out there, so if you have any questions about honey and bees and what our pollinators do here in the city, they'll be able to answer your questions. We also will be having our Winter Wonderland event scheduled on Saturday, December 7th from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. here at City Hall. It's a wonderful event. We have a number of the vendors from downstairs at Shop Made in Maryland, as well as a number of other vendors from the area, and give your people a chance to buy things for their loved ones. But thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you. I do want to echo the sentiment that our staff has done so much for the farmers market to revive it this year, especially Mr. Gardiner and his staff, the market master, Aaron Springer, and Julie Weavers. They're wonderful, and our residents and vendors really appreciate that. Thank you. Any question for Mr. Young? By the way, Turkey Trot was huge. I think last year there were about 350 residents joined. It's a huge opportunity for us to see many neighbors in one place and burn some calories. All right, seeing none, let's do any elected officials in the room. I do not see any. I do not see online. Please forgive me if I miss anyone. Seeing none, I have one proclamation, and which is about Small Business Saturday, which is November 30th, 2024. It reads as follows. Whereas the City of College Park celebrates Small Business Saturday and recognizes the invaluable contributions of our local small businesses to our economy and community, and whereas the small businesses help our city thrive by employing residents, enhancing quality of life, and setting the foundation for the character and charm of College Park. And whereas, according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 634,622 small businesses in the state of Maryland, and accounts for 49.4% of Maryland employees. And whereas consumers who choose to shop at local small businesses directly and significantly contribute to the strength and vitality of College Park's local economies and help support the continued economic growth and prosperity of our community. And whereas 61% of shoppers strongly agreed that they found a small business or independently owned restaurant on a Small Business Saturday where they are likely to return and become a regular customer, and 86% shopped in-store, and 53% of consumers reported shopping online at small businesses rather than 34% of consumers at the large retailers on the day. And 41% shopped with family, friends, and neighbors at a small, independently owned business. And whereas advocacy groups such as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed this Saturday after Thanksgiving as a Small Business Saturday. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the City of College Park, Maryland do hereby proclaim November 30, 2024 as a Small Business Saturday and urge residents of our community and communities across the county to support a small business and merchants on a Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. Proclaimed this 19th day of November 2024, Fazil Kabir, Mayor, City of College Park. Now I go to the amendments to an approval of the agenda. Is there an amendment the council wants to make? Yes, please, Mr. Rigg.
Yeah, we had a request from staff to reverse the order of the two action items.
Right.
24G 146 should go second, and 24G-148 go first.
Basically, swap them.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you. Is there any
Second.
second? All right, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed, any abstention? So the amendment is accepted. Can I get a motion?
Motion to adopt as amended.
As amended? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, any abstention? So the tonight's agenda has been approved. Now we go to public comment on consent agenda, non-agenda items. Anyone has anything on your mind? You have 3 minutes to speak, other than what is in consent or work session item. Mr. Dorsch, welcome. Nice to see you.
Dave Dorsch, longtime resident here in College Park. I just heard mention about the 4704 house on Calvert Road. That day, I understood we were going to have some kind of a hearing on that before everything was taking place. The city is spending about $149,000 remodeling the house. They've already started painting on the outside. Weird green color. I don't know where that came from, but anyway. What I'm here tonight is to ask the city council to sell this house. The city does not need to be in the house renting business. It's got plenty of other things to do. So they bought this, they bought the big lot next to it, all in one package. So I think it's more than time for the city to divide that up, sell the house, keep the lot. Somebody was talking about making a dog park out of it, I don't know, but anyway, because I don't think it's helpful for the city to be in the house renting business, which is what you do when you own that house down there. You can't tear it down because it's in a historic district. So it's not like, okay, well, we can tear the house down and use the lot. No. So I recommend, highly recommend that the city think very seriously about selling that house as soon as you can really do it and eliminate the cost of having to keep the thing up. I guess you're going to go ahead with the $149,000 repairs. I thought they were going to have a meeting on that before the repairs started, but I just hear tonight that that won't be until December. And by then, at least the outside looks like most of the repairs will be done by then. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your comment. Anyone else wants to speak? Any non-agenda items? If you are joining online, you can raise your virtual hand, and I will let you in and speak. Seeing none, let's go to the approval of the consent agenda. There are 4 of them. Let me read them out first, then I'll entertain a motion. The first one is 24G149, which is approval of letter to the Maryland Metropolitan Area Transit Authority to reconsider eliminating the C8 bus route to the National Archives at College Park. Second one is 24G150, approval of modifications of use of FY 2024 grant funds to Parkdale High School and approval of FY 25 public school education grants to University Park Elementary School, College Park Academy and Hollywood Elementary School. And third one is 24G151, which is approval. Thank you. Which is approval to install safety measures on Edmonston Road between Radcliffe Drive and Bryn Mawr Road. And fourth and last one is 24G153, approval of Alan Bradford as the 2024 Jack Perry Award recipient. Can I have a motion?
And move to pass the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Whitney, seconded by Dr. Estes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? The consent agenda item has been approved. We do not have any presentation or public hearing, but we have two action items. The first one is 24G148, which is the approval of
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, just with-
approval, you're right, approval of the program open space application totaling $1.5 million for the partial funding of dual field renovations, and this will be taken by Mr. Rafi, Rahmal Rafi, am I?
Mayor,
Actually, sorry, Mr. Young.
it's the other, it's
Recognize
the other
it.
way around. We need 24G146, the, to go second. And so,
I'm reading from,
I mean, to go first, and the 148 to go second. Sorry about that.
I misstated that, and so, you know, in that case, I would propose to suspend the rules for purposes of amending the agenda to specify that 24G146 go first, and that 24G-148 go second.
okay,
Second.
second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the order is reversed again.
And I apologize.
No, it's okay. Yeah, we're reading from what we have in front of us. Thank you. It happens. Mr. Young, so this will be about approval of the contract with Rainbow Construction of Waldorf in the amount of $7.345 million to conduct the comprehensive renovation of dual field project, and this will be taken by our grant coordinator, Mr. Rahmal Rafi. Welcome, Mr. Rafi.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much. Today, I am joined by three individuals from KCI. They are joined through Zoom online. We have Rick Hohen, the Land Development Practice Leader, Stephen Thompson, Senior Construction Manager, and Brian Alloy, Project Manager. And they're joining us online as panelists. Today we're going to discuss Duval Field renovations. We're excited to get to this stage in the project. It's been in the works since 2005. Today we're here to recommend the contract award to renovate the field. And for some background information, on September 9th, Duval Field was advertised for a period of roughly 7 weeks, and on October 25th, the proposals were due. 4 proposals were brought forward. Of the 4 proposals, 2 contained complete packages. Of those 2 proposals, Rainbow Construction submitted the lowest reasonable proposal. Staff reached out to the references and heard excellent feedback. And when looking into projects completed by the vendor, we were satisfied to see that their portfolio contained projects within the Prince George's County. As a result of all this review, staff recommended award of this contract to Rainbow Construction Corporation of Waldorf, and we're requesting Mayor and Council's approval to move forward and bring this project into fruition.
Thank you, Mr. Rafi. So I want to thank my city council colleagues for sending so many good questions. Many of you, those are very good questions. We learned quite a bit about the project and the RFP process and everything. That said, I'm sure there will be more questions, so I'll entertain those questions now. Mr. Rigg, do you have? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I have some questions, just because I think it's important to be really clear about the process and the events that transpired here. I distinctly remember conversations when I was first on council about a total of $5 million for this project. And by my counting, setting aside the $2 million that the city spent in 2005 for the concession stand renovation, we're now at $7.5 million. With the $2 million from the concession stand, we're at a $10.5 million project. I also recall that the last time we talked about this, it was in the context of, I believe, a work session. And I expressed concerns at that time that the number of amenities crammed into a pretty small area seemed overprogrammed to me, and I was concerned about the budget and really wanted to hear, again, especially if it seemed like we were going to go over budget. And now I'm dismayed to find that we're $2 million over budget, or more than $2 million over budget, but we still have, you know, a park that's, it'll be a great amenity, but it's got a lot of stuff crammed in it's 5 pounds worth of amenities in a 4-pound bag. It's going to feel pretty crowded there if everybody's using all of those amenities at the same time. And I guess I just am curious how we wound up in this place. I don't recall there being any real outreach on a amenity by amenity basis, at least with the council, with the exception of a conversation about a splash pad. And I don't recall that there being any outreach to other parts of the city about, you know, this was sold by certain members of this body as being a citywide amenity, but I'm not sure that there was citywide outreach in terms of the visioning for this particular project. If there was, you know, maybe I missed it.
Hi, Mr. Rick.
Bader,
Miriam
please go
Bader.
ahead, or Director of Planning. Thank you, welcome.
Yeah, Miriam Bader, Director of Planning. So there was a very extensive visioning study that was done in 2019, and that's probably where you got the figure of 5 million. But that was in 2019. You know, then COVID hit, then everything else hit. Then we revised the plan. So yes, we worked through every single amenity during this visioning session, and I've got a copy of the report. We can hand that out, but 46 pages that we worked with the community.
Can you say a little bit more about who the visioning study was conducted with?
Sure. Okay, so it was mayor and council, City of College Park staff, and then there was a consultant team, and then it involved, you know, the community at large. It might be helpful, as I said, if I can distribute the study, but we went through every single amenity and what the residents wanted, and everything was accounted for. The only thing we had discussion on, which was most recently, was about the splash pad. So each time we bring this before, then people make changes, then we have to amend the plans, then we don't. So now we're finally at that last stage where we have the 100% construction plans, and we put together the bids and we sent the bids out. So we're really at the final step here. And I think we've really been planning this, you know, to death. I mean, we started 2005 and we keep going over, and every time we keep redoing it and keep re-examining it, it just winds up taking more time and then costing more. So with the $5 million, that was in 2019, before COVID.
Would you say that, with the exception of the splash pad, that there's been, you know, really just a net positive of the things that have been added to the plan, or have they gone both directions?
No, nothing's been added since the Duval Field visioning session in 2019.
Right, but there have been, I guess I don't recall being a part of that Duval Field visioning session. I do recall discussing it in 2022 when we talked about cornhole and pickleball and basketball and everything else, just kind of in one area.
Yeah, so when I was looking at this, it was interesting to see how much staff changed and how much city council, but actually you were there.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so we had Patrick Rohan was the mayor, Mayor Kabir was in District 1, Kate Kennedy was District 1, P.J. Brennan was District 2, Monroe Dennis was District 2, Robert Day was District 3, John Rigg, you were District 3, Denise Mitchell was District 4, and then Dustin Kajawa was District 4. So that was the city council at the time. But as I said, you know, a lot's changed since 2019.
But you're saying that the design hasn't changed.
But the design has not changed. What we've been trying to do is get 100% construction plans, going through DPI, getting all those changes done, taking care of the stormwater, the grading, all of those permits. So that took quite a while to get the permits. And then, you know, put together the bid documents and the bids out. So I've been planning director for like a year and a half, and this has been my #1 goal to get it done. So.
Okay, I guess, you know, I've heard from North College Park residents that there's been a number of meetings with North College Park, and it seems to me that those have post-dated 2019. So I'm just kind of curious what's evolved as a result of those discussions. Because as I said, I mean, this is striking only a faint bell, and that's because pre-COVID is a hazy, like apparently a hazy proposition in my brain. But I certainly am still concerned about how programmed the space is, and I'm very concerned about the costs. So it struck me, it was an unpleasant surprise, you know, that we're being essentially requested to find $600,000 in a budget over the next fiscal year or two to be able to kind of fill that hole again. But I don't know. Have there been any cost mitigation measures other than the splash pad removal?
Right, so all we did was the splash pad removal, and then the next agenda item is to apply for a program open space. So we didn't want to put that on the agenda first because we only need, the two go together. So if we want to go for the bid, then we'll go forward with asking for program open space monies to help narrow the gap.
Okay, I'll have questions about that as well, because it seems to me that might crowd out other priorities, but thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Bader, after the vision session happened in the community, I believe the design team came before the city council and presented that design at that time as well, right? I know we had quite a few discussions about the splash pad and other small items, but as a whole, I believe there was a discussion around 2019 or sometime.
Oh, yeah, there could be. I wasn't involved in
You were
2019.
involved.
So.
Yeah, if I recall.
Mayor, we did have some conversations with council when we were at 35% design.
Yes.
And so that did come to the council for a conversation. And then when we got back, I think, to the 65% design is when we had the discussion around the splash pad. And then that cost us another additional year onto the project, and additional cost onto the project as well for consulting services to give it to the point where the council could make a decision on what we wanted to provide. That was also the time where we went in and talked about the stage and what amenities that the council wanted. So that was one of the issues that we cautioned council about, is at that time, because we had to then progress to 100% design. And so, you know, it's not a surprise on a lot of these issues. One of the other major issues that we really have no control over is having to design to the 100-year flood management program. So that is a big cost in this project, which you do not see any of those projects above ground. So a lot of that money is really underground in those installation of improvements.
Thank you. Thanks for adding that context. I see quite a few hands raised. I believe let's take Mr. Hugh. Probably did you raise a hand? And then Dr. Esther, right? And Ms. Whitney.
Online.
And online, I see Mayor Protem and Councilmember Adams. Oh, they are
Yeah.
first? Okay,
Yeah.
my apologies, I did not keep track. Mayor Protem, go first.
Thank you, Dr. Estes. I appreciate that, and thank you to Councilman Rigg for your questions. My questions are regarding more along of the financing option, and I don't know if the city manager, Mr. Young, could speak to what is the current financing model for this moving forward if voted on in the affirmative tonight.
So we have our bond dollars that we let out, as well as we are seeking funds from for open space dollars, and that should take care of the majority of the project funds.
Okay, and would that still leave us in the rear to what Councilmember Rigg is alluding to, with additional funds we had to come up with?
I'm not sure what funds he's alluding to.
Okay, I just want to be clear about that. I just want to make sure.
We will have, just like we have in the budget now, operating costs that we have. Those really won't change drastically. What is built into the new design is some cost-saving measures. We constantly have to rent out a lot of the equipment that we utilize for our events. A lot of this was designed so that we can also decrease the amount of labor costs that we incur and time from the public works staff to put on events. So a lot of those things were factored into this particular design.
Okay. And just the last question, Ms. Young, the bond is for, what's the time frame for the bond?
Okay, I believe Gary Fields is online, our finance director. Gary, are you able to answer that question?
He's on the panel.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, please go
Yes.
ahead. We can hear you. Yes.
So I'm sorry, you said the time, I mean, it was
The
taken
front-
out.
The bond, yeah, we have the bond for how long duration?
It is 30-year total. And I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers
That's
right
okay.
in front of me, but the Duval Field portion, the $5 million, was supposed to be paid over 20 years. The City Hall portion was 30.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Fields, Director Fields, and thank you, Mr. Young, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. I yield back my time.
Appreciate that. I believe next we go to Mr. Adams.
Thank you. Mr. Fields, while we have you still on the call here, can you speak to how much interest has accrued on that bond funding for Duval Field?
Yeah, yes, sir. It was $5 million. I'm estimating that it's about $660,000 to date. Again, that's over five years. So right now it's earning about $25,000 per month, give or take. It's in the Maryland governmental investment pool.
Thank you. That's helpful. And I think maybe that's the $600,000 that Councilmember Rigg might be referring to, is that's the delta. So we had the original bond bill. There's 1.5 million for open space that we're looking at, and then possibly the delta is the interest accrued that would help cover that gap there. But I think, what I want to stress. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Fields.
I think Rocky probably has more detail, but I think what Councilmember Riggs referring to, the total, that the bond plus the 1.5 million is $7,175,000. The bid that is being asked to be approved tonight, again, sorry, I don't have the number in front of me, but is 7.3 million. So there's about, I think it's roughly $200,000 additional, and then already approved by council back in the summer was the project manager contract. But I think Councilmember Riggs referring to that $200,000 to $300,000 over and above the $7,175,000 that's available funding. Sorry.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you for interjecting there. Appreciate it. And I think that's really what I want to stress here is that, I've seen some best practices from some cities that when they have such a large capital investment of a project, that they're very direct and clear with the community on how much is being invested here. And so I want to stress, and don't want to necessarily add this to the bid by any sense, but I think the city would be able to do this on our own, is to add some sort of sign that's prominent in front of the construction that says exactly how much the city's investing in that in this project. So, phase one was the concession stands, $2 million. We spent a considerable amount of money on design, and then also we're proposing to spend a considerable amount on construction. And I think we need to be clear and direct with our community to see what investment we as a council and city are making here. And so I would like to, request that to be done if we move forward with this, which in general, I think we definitely should move forward. This is an amenity we've talked about for many years. I share some of the heartburn of my fellow council members on the cost here. I recall that as a council member, I think the 35% was discussed when I was a council member, and I pointed out the stormwater item, and we went back and had to do it. And then at 65%, I think that's where the amphitheater storage, the audio visual, and the splash pad were considered, and it seems like the splash pad was not pursued in the bid. But these are real costs to do these projects. I think some of the requests that we're moving forward with have come from council members. Some have come, helpful encouragement from city staff, but it substantially aligns with a lot of what the residents are asking for. But we really need to be direct and straightforward of what these costs are. And my biggest concern with this that I'm hearing is actually more regarding the open space. I know that's on a different agenda item, but I think it's definitely interrelated to this. And I'm interested to understand what, if $1.5 million goes to this project, what does that mean for availability of funds for other projects elsewhere in the city? And so those are the points I'd like to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Young, please go ahead.
Yes, I think I'm understanding Mr. Riggs' question now, so I think I'll be able to answer that.
Please go ahead.
That 200,000, about that delta, where would that come from? So that would come from our CIP, or that would also, we could also budget that in FY20 or FY26, since we won't be paying it until into FY26. So that we have some options there.
Thank you. Before I go to Councilmember Hill, about the concession stand, I understand that it's not, we'll be approving tonight, it already been done. How much actually is spent on this? Is it 1.3 million or is it 2 million? I'm hearing 2 million, which, yeah.
Sorry,
Can you
on the
remember if you
concession
don't?
stand? Yeah, I don't have that off the top of my
If I
head. I
recall,
can
it's
look it up.
1.3, yeah, but
Okay.
maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd have to look it
Yeah,
up.
that is a separate discussion. Probably we can have another agenda item in the future, how we can revive it, because I'm hearing concerns from the community that's not been used. It's been rarely used, so that's something we need to work together. All right, Mr. Hill? Sorry? Oh, Mr. Hernandez actually raised hand after you, so I'm gonna give, I'll give Mr. Hill first.
Okay, thank you very much. So, yes, this is a painful number to absorb and look at, to consider doing this. And just for an analogy, when this conversation started about doing this park renovations, I want to say it was about 2009.
We've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 2005 was when we had the
Oh, wow.
first meeting about, talking about the concession stand and talking about a concept plan for Duval Field. So that was February 2005.
Well, I was thinking about an analogy that was relevant. In 2009, my wife and I, we bought 2 cars, brand new cars, and it was about maybe around $40,000. Last year, we bought a new car, and it's about $60,000 just for one. So, the inflation has continued to go up over the years. From when we started this to this point, we can try to nitpick and take things off, but by the time that we address those, removal of those items and the time lost spent on it, we'll be back at the same number and one less amenity. It is time to move forward. Making greatness in our city costs, and the longer we wait, the more it's going to cost. When I got on in 23, the last conversation I heard about this was not doing the splash pad. And it seemed like we're pretty much on agreement of what the plan was going to be. And since in that short time, it's gone up even more. We need to do this. This will be appreciated. It will be modernized for today's use and use into the future. It'll be an asset for a city that we can be proud of, very much like City Hall and the uses we got, that we're getting out of the events we can have out front and all that sort of thing. So we really need to move forward on this. And I encourage you to not prolong this any longer. We do need to make these renovations, and this is where we're at. So please, let's consider moving forward this evening.
Thank you. Dr. Esters, Ms. Whitney, and then Mr. Hernandez. Is that okay?
Hernandez was before me, for sure.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Yes,
Please.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with a lot of what has been said this evening. I will talk about the fact that I did have some angst in the numbers and the expense, but understanding that the discussion about these renovations have taken 19 years from the first discussions until now. That also means a difference in costs, and just as my colleague, Councilmember Hugh has discussed, things have gone up in price. We've also experienced a pandemic where prices have gone up dramatically. Ultimately, I think that this is a major amenity for North College Park, and we continue to hear about the lack of investment we've made in North College Park. This is huge, but it's not only for North College Park, it's for the city at large. And I think it is important for us to move forward. I still have angst. You sort of look at the checkbook and you go, but to also know that all that has gone into this. There's been lots of work we don't see when we consider stormwater management and those things that have occurred over time. The conversations that have been had recently and the back and forth that have cost us more. I think the longer we wait, it is going to cost that much more money. And what I would hate to see is for us to vote against this and then it not happen. So I think the residents in North College Park deserve to see a major amenity. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Mr. Hernandez. Thank you for your patience.
Didn't Councilmember Susan?
No, you're before Councilmember.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So, just really quickly, I had sent a whole bunch of questions in, given just my unfamiliarity with the project, since this has been working for 19, 20 years. But I think Kenny Young knows more than anyone that almost every conversation that I started with him up until this point was, when are we doing Duval Field? So I really appreciate the staff bringing this to us. I do have major concerns about I just had ticket shock, right? Like when you get like a price tag, you're like, whoa, what is going on? But thankful for the staff who helped put it into perspective for me. I guess the Brooklyn Park renovation in Anne Arundel County, which has a similar type of surface area or like land, was somewhere at $11.2 million for the renovation, and it has several baseball fields. I think ours, although it's small, has a lot of different amenities in this project, and that made me feel better. I do want to ask right here, I guess from the dais, is there any option? Is it too late to make any cost mitigation features or mitigation options, such as like tweaking or removing some of the projected amenities to save money to help reduce the cost?
Mr. Young, do you want to take this?
I'll let Rocky go, or at this point, we can't value engineer the project. I mean, that we would, without rebidding it. So that's a major issue. We'd have concerns. I know our city attorney would have some big concerns about that, but I don't know if, Rocky, if you have anything that you want to add.
Yeah, we have Rick Owen on the line as well on Zoom, and he can speak to you well about value engineering. The project would definitely put this project back a year, I would say. That's my estimate. And just taking a glance at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, if you were to plug in $6 million and run it for a year, the amount of interest that would bring the price tag up is roughly $198,000. So we do incur costs by value engineering the project, and I would really try to avoid that because it's not free and it's just money that's being invested into something that will not produce something that's tangible.
Thank you. Mr. Owen, do you want to add anything? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you pretty well.
Yeah, so I just, I find the conversation very productive overall. And yes, the cost did go up. However, as you said, inflation is part of this process. And I would like to say that, I'm probably the only one on the design team that has been involved with the project for the entire 4 years that have been, since we were brought on board in January of 2021. We're approaching 4 years since we've been working on this project. And it's been a very involved project with a lot of community input. We've had 2 community input sessions which resulted in numerous design revisions. We have pages and pages of notes from these community input processes that we went over with planning staff and made decisions. Then we went back to the community again. We had several meetings and work sessions with the mayor and council. And so it's been a very open process overall. And it's been a long process, and some of these decisions came out of the community. They were elected by the mayor and council. In 2023, we went through a whole process of looking at the splash pad. We looked at adding audio visual and storage wings and to the band shelter. And these things are all, really improving the project overall based on the input that we got for the project. So, I would just, for me personally, I'd love to see the project move forward because, we put our blood, sweat, and tears into this project. And I think it's going to be a really, a potential award-winning project for the city. I know that we would be applying for awards once it's done. So, so I think, you could use it for marketing and promoting the city. I just think it's a very positive move for the city to endorse it. Of course, you can always delay and we can look at things over again. But I think, as already alluded, that we're going to probably end up at a net zero by the time that process is over with. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. And thank you for your work
Thank you.
as part of the design team. Mr. Hernandez, please go ahead. Looks like you have more
Yes,
thoughts.
So in terms of the design, I have the unique perspective to live immediately in front of Duval Field. And for the past, time that I've lived there, I've really only seen the field used for soccer, rugby, lacrosse, and believe it or not, the Harry Potter favorite, Quidditch. Every time they use the field, right, they use the grass portion of it. Is it possible so I have a hard time reading these planning documents, but is it possible for the field that's going to be the soccer field to be entirely grass, like that entire square, or is it going to be like softball?
So someone can say what is in the current design, Mr. Rao?
Yeah, I can help bring some light to that. In the scope of work, and that was also included in the advertisement for the Duval Field renovation, we have a full-size soccer field, which is also multi-use, but it is full-size. So you should be able to use that. It should be all grass, and it should be the appropriate size for them to utilize it without any complaints or without it being an issue at all.
Okay, fantastic. That's awesome to hear. In terms of construction, sorry, I'm just trying to rush through these questions. But in terms of construction, understand that there's going to be underground water system. What mitigations would there be to avoid any water effects on the neighboring residences?
Ms. Beda. think he's talking about the irrigation underneath as part of the turf field. Is that?
There's a bioretention facility underneath the multi-use court that will be the pickleball court. That, along with other bioretention facilities, are intertwined with that facility to store the water and release that water over a period of time, so then you can avoid flooding. That's a major keystone in that stormwater management. But besides that, we had the county review it extensively, and we got the green light as far as I'm concerned on that.
That is one of the reasons this project got delayed so long, because it had deep, high stormwater management requirement. John, on this?
In terms of the construction, I don't know if this is the time to actually talk about this, but like, do we know where like construction workers will be parking and like what times construction will be like operating? I know we've had some problems with the flats and the construction over there, so I was just trying to get ahead of it if and when we move forward on this project.
Is there, Mr. Halpern is in the room. Will it be helpful to bring him in? He's just smiling, that's what I'm asking.
The staging area will be on park premises. There's a parking lot right in front of the park, and that should be part of the staging area. There is a demolition plan, and it'll be all detailed in that plan as well. As far as any issues that may arise, we have an on-site construction manager that will be there, as well as an inspector that'll come periodically as well, every week or so. So any issues will go through him and then trickle down to city staff. So we set ourselves up for success in that end.
Thank you.
Okay. And then just last question, and I guess I'm prepared to make a motion whenever.
No, we have a few more questions
All right.
from the
So,
guys.
can we get a list of the amenities to share with our residents? I've had a hard time.
It's on the city
finding,
website.
like- well, I couldn't find the list.
It's
Like I know that
on the
there's
project
like, a large.
page. Is there anything?
You can find it under the RFPs that were posted on the. We do post every RFP on the website as well. I am not familiar with what's on the website exactly per se, but I do have the full scope of work in front of me right now, and I can also share that as well when we get to that point. But yeah, that can be made
Rocky,
available.
I mean, just to be honest with you, the RFP and then the KCI design, it's just really advanced planning material that like is hard to share with residences. So if it's possible for us to like just get a list, like a normal list,
Good point.
that we could push out, that would be greatly appreciated.
Can the staff help us?
Yeah, we'll work on a communication tool that we can utilize for residents. We'll work with the communications manager on that.
Good point, Councilmember.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Thank you. Now,
Folks, I just want to close with like I'm really supportive of this project. I know, I'm sorry, I can't really tell the body language there with the distance that we're in, but I'm really supportive of the project, and I think this is going to be a wonderful investment for like this part of the city, so that we can have and enjoy big city events, and potentially could be the future site of the Hollywood Farmers Market if and when we can get the North College Park Community Center going. So I'm just grateful and honored to be a part of this process. So thank you.
thank you. Those are great questions. Let's come back to the dais, and I was Ms. Whitney, and then Ms. Mackey.
Thank you. I will be brief, as most of my questions have been addressed and comments already commented. But I just wanted to say that I recall similar conversations about City Hall and the expense of City Hall and a lot of stress over that. And the argument was made that it was something that was very much needed and that it would bring a place for community to the city, a place where everyone could gather. And we have really seen that happen just since I came on council, and this is only my second term. So I think the same thing will happen with Duval Field and with the amenities that are being added to it. And I think it has the real potential to really bring the city together as one entity that kind of meets and socializes all over the city and not just downtown in a central location. And we've been hearing requests for that a lot. And there are a lot of people who really don't like to go to events. in downtown College Park. For whatever reason, they don't like to drive down here. So I think this really will serve to bring the city together and be a place for all of College Park. So I thank everyone on this dais for all their work on it, and everyone on staff for the years of work on this.
Thank you. Okay, finally,
So
Ms.
I
Nagy.
have a question and then a statement. So, Ms. Bader, we would have to do the stormwater mitigation regardless, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that correctly.
Yes.
Well, I want you to know that I remember all the meetings about Duval Field, and some of them were before I was on council. And we met extensively. We talked about, I don't know, AstroTurf versus this turf. I mean, that was really extensive. We had to have all this explanation on the different kinds of turf. Then we had lots of different inputs on what we wanted there: pickleball, cornhole, basketball, cricket, and all kinds of different things. We had a lot of, don't put the playground here, put the playground there, and there were a lot. I had like a lot of stuff on Duval Field. So we have been discussing this for a long time, and to tell you the truth, it does give me heartburn at the cost, right? I mean, it went from 5 million, which I thought was a lot back then, to what it is today. But we went through the same thing with our College Park Woods Clubhouse, which was a pre-COVID and post-COVID, and the price just changed a lot. And even though it hurts me to spend all this money on this amenity, I think it's an amenity that we need. One of the things that I would, not only for social activities, but we have an epidemic of childhood obesity in our nation. And I think that with the opportunities for more outdoor play, we are, as a city, are addressing that tragic statistic. And so even though it pains me, I will be supporting this tonight.
Thank you. I think you asked your question, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I think everyone had their questions and comments.
Stu and Jacob.
Is there any second? Mr. Adams, is there a second bite?
Yes, I just wanted to take a quick second bite, and it's to state my support of this project. I think we have definitely talked about it numerous times, and it will provide a great amenity to our city. But I really am continuously concerned with the rhetoric and misconception of disinvestment north of 193. So we have the Hollywood streetscape, 3 to 4 million, Rhode Island Road, almost $1 million, Hollywood Gateway Park, almost $2 million, College Park Woods Clubhouse, almost $2 million, College Park Community Center, $1.5 million. This is just in the past 5 years. We're investing $20+ million in amenities. And I think there's some sort of misconception that we do not invest in North College Park or north of 193, and that's false. Oftentimes, south of 193, it's private investment, it's state investment, and a good example of that is the child care center that was at zero cost to the city. And so I truly want to continue to request a sign that says how much we are investing here, and I would hope that our residents and our council will recognize that investment in numbers is not subjective. It is it's a true cost, and we are investing throughout the city, including north of 193. And we need to recognize that and make sure that that is clear to our residents, because it's real. It's real money, and we need to be proud of that and not create misconceptions. So that's what I wanted to stress as I vote yes to this item.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Hernandez has his hand raised. I think he wants to say something.
Please go ahead, second bite. Be brief.
No, not a second bite. I was just, if we're okay to make the motion, I wanted to make the motion.
Yeah, I was going to entertain a motion. I think it's in a
Okay.
packet.
Yep, I have it.
Okay.
So, first off, just quickly recognize Councilmember Adams' comments. I appreciate those comments, and I think we can work together to see how we formulate like the messaging. So without further ado, I proudly move to award Rainbow Construction Corporation, I proudly move to award Rainbow Construction Corporation of Waldorf, subject to the approval of the city attorney, in the amount of $7,354,000 to conduct a comprehensive renovation for the Duval Field project.
Second.
Further comments?
Could you please state that value again?
7,354,000.
7,354,000. Okay. It's, okay.
It's in the packet.
It says,
Motion sheet.
it
So,
says
in your red folder?
7,345,000. I thought he said 54, so
I'm looking at the motion sheet.
okay.
I have
so-
54, that's what the motion
Okay, am I
says.
looking at the wrong sheet? Okay, that was
Oh,
in our,
in the action items, it says 7,345,000.
yeah.
On our packet.
That's why I was,
yeah.
that's why
Which
I
one
was-
is correct?
Which one is correct?
7,354,000 is correct.
The 54,000 rather than the 45,000?
So,
Yeah,
Okay.
apologies
All
for
right,
that.
somebody must have just transposed. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so it's
Councilmember
the,
Mackey trying to save us 10 grand.
well, I wanted to make sure that we had it on record properly. Thank you.
yeah. Mr. Hernandez, I'd like to give you opportunity to speak on, I'll be, before you go.
So, I mean, like, for me, like, this is a lot of hard work that's happened long before I moved to the city and before many of my neighbors moved to the city, that is going to be enjoyed by, like, my residents, their children, and, like, we're going to have, like, College Park, North College Park is going to look very different in the coming years, and this is going to just be a meaningful investment that the city made through a culmination of hard work in order to get here. So I really appreciate everyone's hard work, and I'm just glad to be even just a little bit of a fraction of a part of it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me go to the audience. If you want to speak in the room, please come forward. You have 3 minutes to speak on this item. Anyone? All right. You can still come. Let me see. If you're not online, if you want to join and speak, please raise your virtual hand. We'll allow you to speak. We do have a couple of comments in our red folders from the residents. Thank you all who sent those comments. Appreciate that. I see one. Okay. Mayor Protem, we'll be coming back to you in a minute. Okay. Seeing none, let's come back to the council. So before we take the vote, any further comments? Final. Mayor Protem, please go ahead.
Yes, I want to say to the city manager and to the staff, thank you, sir. Thank you so very much for your hard work, your due diligence on the project, and to the proposed contractor, Rainbow. Thank you very much. This has been long time and waiting for this for a long time since I've been on council, and I'm elated to see that we're here and we will finally be putting this to fruition. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So everyone, Mr. Rigg, please.
Yeah, thanks. And, I'm not going to vote against a Parks and Rec project. I think it's a great project. I said like it's over engineered, but I guess I've made the point on that, and we're going to proceed. I'm looking forward to going to this project, but and bringing my kids. My kids are frequent Duval Field users to this project after it gets built. A couple of requests I have. One is that we really focus on trying to make sure that this is used, especially those fields after they're in. As Mr. Hernandez pointed out, I think we really struggle as a city to manage the field use requests, and I believe that because I hear from residents who have been involved in trying to utilize that field and have encountered obstacles. So if we're making a substantial investment in a field, I just want to make sure that we're using it and that we're making it available for the broader community use. And then I also, wanted to really put stomp what Mr. Adams said, because I heard at this dais tonight that there was an underinvestment in North College Park, and that is demonstrably false. And once again, we're investing in an extremely expensive and you might say all the bells and whistles amenity in North College Park, and I'm prepared to vote for it. But I would love it if this is the last time I ever heard the the overstatement that the city does not invest in North College Park. We invest far more city resources north of 193 than we do south of 193. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Further comment, Dr. Estes, please go ahead.
I'd like to just make a comment about what investments have been made in North College Park. So yes, there have been investments. They have been recently made and visible. So I think that there are some visible amenities and changes that still need to be made in North College Park, and I will continue to say that because I think it is true. And I think that in recent years, we've seen more of that happen. So I wanted to clarify what I meant by making the statement, and I stand true in that statement because I believe that that is what we're seeing now. And living in North College Park, I get to see that often. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mackey?
Just want to say something short. I was fortunate to grow up in College Park, and one of the things that I remember distinctly is having a lot of activities for children and young people at Duval Field. And so I too echo my colleagues' request that we do, as a city, invest in really making sure that not only do we have fun things like activities in the evening and concerts and different things, but that the fields are being used, and that people of all ages are encouraged to get out there and use our Duval Field to exercise and for better health. So I too wanted to echo what my colleague said.
Thank you. So everyone has spoken. I don't think I'll get the opportunity to vote. Looks like it will be unanimous. But I want to thank staff, first of all, for working so hard for so many years, for 19 years, on this project. And I could remember, I had the opportunity to be involved in this project from the get-go, from the very beginning, even before I was elected in the council. As you know, in 2009, I first ran and I lost. So I can remember the community has been behind this. I was in Annapolis and advocated for this project with the testimonies to get some funding from the state. And it has such a long story and history. But the community has been totally looking forward to it, and finally they will be very pleased that and they are having such a good amenity. And I do want to think that this is like citywide amenity, because Duval Field is only the field that has this kind of dimension in terms of size and everything, and the amenity now. So it is a citywide amenity, even though it happened to be in the northern side. So let's focus that in as we promote this field in the future, that this is a citywide event. Hopefully we'll be getting some awards, and somebody was telling that because of the wonderful design we have. And you know, I've been blogging on this on my blog sites for so long. I have so many posts on this, all the different announcements and everything. And Mr. Hernandez was asking all the key things, and I was looking at one of the posts. It will be having walking trails. It will be having neighborhood park signage, the basketball field, basketball court, event lawn with a stage area, and playground area will be completely having new equipments. There will be bicycle parking. There will be exercise stations, and our seniors and the community are looking forward to that. There will be picnic pavilion. There will be landscape screenings, stormwater management, bioretention area. We talked about timber guard rail with hedge. I think it still is there. Proposed park main signage. Some of the items might have changed because this post maybe it's actually 2021. Some of the things might have changed. But there will be 11 or 12 amenities within this project. So many of the fields we have in this area, not only in College Park, in the surrounding area, you won't be finding so many amenities in one park. So it will be really a staple project for the entire community, even not in College Park, the outside of College Park. I do have concerns about the cost, and I was, frankly speaking, I was shocked rather when I first saw the amount, 7 million, the 7 figure. I was hoping it'd be around 5.5 or maximum 6, but I was shocked, I have to say. But then I also appreciate the staff responses to wonderful questions from some of my colleagues. That what would be the alternate options if we delay it, if we rebid it. We may be losing some amenities, some of the one or two of these 12 items, but we may not be able to save any money in the end. So it is a hard choice we are going to make. And I appreciate my city council colleagues for taking that on. I know it's very hard to digest tonight, and I appreciate that. It's sometimes we need to make hard choices. That's what we are going to do. Thank you again for the community for being with us on such a long journey. Congratulations, and hopefully board will be 8-0. So let's take the vote, call for action. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? So the project has been approved, 8-0. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, staff.
All right. Now we go to the other items, which have been going back and forth. 24G148, right? Who is going to take? Mr. Rafi, you want to take again?
Yes, thank you. I would also like to thank KCI team for discussing the other item as well. The application that we are requesting today for approval is a capital renewal and development application to the Department of Natural Resources of the state of Maryland in the amount of $1.5 million and with a contribution of 25% that's required with the program, and that brings it up to $2 million total for our eligible costs. And the way the program works is around every year, around June, municipalities are encouraged to submit projects that are shovel-ready to the counties and to include that in, and the county includes those projects within an annual plan, and they submit that plan to the state of Maryland. Once the state of Maryland receives that plan, they consolidate everything and they post it publicly as a plan for the county. And thereafter, whenever the projects are ready to go, you submit an application, whether it is a capital renewal project, in this case it is, or a acquisition project. City staff submit a application to the Department of Natural Resources, and they take it forward to their board of Public Works to review that application. They'll check eligibilities, and they're already aware of the amounts, so they know about the project. They just want to make sure that you have eligible products on there. That process takes about 8 weeks from the time you submit it until you get approval and the letter back to you. And then you can proceed with the project. And it works on a reimbursement basis. So you would spend the money, project is complete, and then you would submit a reimbursement request, and you already have approval at that point. So it should be straightforward at that point. There are some guidelines that you need to adhere to. A couple of those are you have to have a shelf life of roughly 20 years. It also has to be made publicly available, so there has to be uninterrupted public access for that period of time, so also 20 years. Of course, the formerly mentioned 25% match contribution and some compliance with environmental regulations. That is subjective, case by case, but yeah, that is the gist of the program.
Thank you. Thanks for summarizing it. Any question, Ms. Mackey?
Mr. Rafi, please, Project Open Space is always hard for me to understand. One of the things is, do we have a Project Open Space like banking, like banked amount that College Park has requested in the past?
Yes, that is correct. Before this fiscal year,
yes,
it was set up in a way where you would accrue the money and then you would pull it from that list. However, in this fiscal year, we were instructed to provide shovel-ready projects only.
Oh, okay.
And in which case, I requested directly that we get up to 2 million. In this case, technically speaking, it's 2 million. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the change. Okay, thank you for
Sure.
clarifying that for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Adams, you have a question?
Yeah, I think Councilmember Mackey's question was similar to mine. However, I just want to clarify that, is there any evaluation process that looks in past awards, or so if you received funding in previous fiscal years or in this fiscal year, does that impact potential funding opportunities in future years?
Sure. Yeah. The approval process is based actually on the deliverables. So be it a playground, the cost to implement the playground. For example, for Duval Field, the concession stand has been funded. So you initially taking a glance at it, you think that Duval Field has already received program open space funding. However, we are still eligible for program open space funding if we utilize it for the playground and the band shell and whatever other eligible products that we would like to implement that haven't been funded by program open space in the past 20 years. And in this case, besides the concession stand, the whole field is eligible. So when we submit the application, we would get the information, the budget line items with the detail of how much it costs from the contractor, and then we would submit that application to program open space, to the state.
So just to clarify, is there an explicit criteria or review by our counterparts who review applications for open space that looks at prior awards for not necessarily for eligibility, but for priority of available funding?
I'm not sure if I can answer that accurately. I think the board, I'm not familiar with exactly how the board makes that selection. I believe that it is not competitive, and so long as the products are eligible and haven't been funded, that they should not be an issue. And that's been echoed by the county when I asked that question in a similar manner.
Okay, so it's a board that makes a selection. There will be a group of eligible applications, and they would then select based upon some sort of criteria that we don't know fully. Of course, if it's undersubscribed, likely everyone would receive the funding, but if it's oversubscribed, there could be some evaluation criteria that we do not know exactly what that is.
Councilmember Adams, one of the things that they do look at is our performance in the past in terms of being able to complete the projects that we've applied for monies and been able to actually put into practice. And so far, we've been pretty good at making sure that those funds that we've asked for, we've put into play exactly as we've applied for them.
Thank you. Is there, Mr. Hale?
Yes. So, is the money that this is coming out of, this open space money coming through the state and all that, is that limited? Is us asking for this amount this year go against us asking for money again next year? This is, are we putting all our eggs in one basket is what I'm asking, basically.
You're diversifying it. Are you going to respond, please?
So because the program has changed to what I understand to be a shovel-ready project basis, it should not impact year-to-year projects. So if we were to develop another project the next year, back-to-back, it shouldn't be an issue at all. The only thing that I've noticed was if there's too much funding going into to any other projects at the same year, then they would have to be more conservative with the budget, but it didn't seem like that was an issue this year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rigg?
Yeah, I just want a question about the process. Does this, so I saw in the board packet that the due date was, what, June 4th? Is that right? Okay. So does this preclude us from putting in other applications for Project Open Space? Is this the only anticipated request we're going to make this year?
For this fiscal year, yes, that was the only one. There was some land acquisition funds that we forwarded, but we didn't have anything in mind for that per se. but that was included as a separate line item in a separate page as well. So that was its own thing. That was about $1,043,000.
Okay.
We do also have some land acquisition projects that are included for Project Open Space, but those are different from this pot.
Okay, so this what doesn't impact our ability to be able to have those projects considered?
Correct.
Okay,
So
right.
Davidson is one that comes to mind, and there's a few other projects
thank you.
like that.
And then the other question I have is, are there other shovel-ready projects in the city of College Park, or is this the only one?
Design-wise, I wouldn't say that there is. There's more so design build ready projects, but just having 100% plans and ready to build, no, I don't think there is no other ones that I'm aware of.
I believe Rocky's correct. We do have other projects. They're just not to that point where they're considered to be shovel ready.
Got it. So they're gonna have to go in next year's submission.
Yeah. So we have a lot of work to do. Sentinel Swamp is one that I'm thinking of, as well as one in Berwyn neighborhood as well, that we utilize actual Project Open Space to acquire.
Thank you.
So
That's the acquisition fund, correct? That's. Thank you. Any other, Mr. Hernandez, you have a question? Mr. Longer? Is that your old hand or new hand? I think it's the old hand, is it?
It's a new hand. I'm sorry.
It's a new hand, please go ahead.
I don't know if you guys can hear me, so I'm gonna give it a shot.
Yeah, we can
because
hear
I'm
you.
trying to lose service here. I think one of the requirements is public access to the space entirely. If we end up pursuing, fees for field use or use of some of the amenities for competitions, will that preclude or hold us back from using these funds?
No, I do not believe so. You cannot close off the site and say this site is not available for use. But and if that does happen, then you would have to notify the program administrators. So in this case, Department of Natural Resources, and say between X date and Y date, this will be closed, and that time frame will be forwarded as a requirement in addition to the time that you are required. So it'll be put into that 20-year requirement. So it would just be moved forward. The end date would be moved forward.
Thank you. Is that all you have?
Yeah, for me, from my perspective, it sounds like it's gonna cause a little bit of a problem. I'm not voting against this. I'm just making sure that you all consider that, given the fact that there's that requirement. And then for just my education, because this is, I think, the second time that I've seen a Project Open Space program, are any other projects at risk of not being completed if we submit the application for this one for this year?
No, this does not jeopardize any other project at this time. We can apply for any other project that is ready to go next year.
Great.
Good.
Thank you for taking the efforts to try to mitigate the cost and help secure available funding and reduce the overall cost on the resident taxpayers.
Absolutely. Thank you. Instead of getting the money from our general funds, they're getting somewhere else. Thank you, Mr. Hugh. Your second bite, if you could make it quick.
Which one you'd like to make the motion?
Oh, okay.
Question, my first bite.
Ms. Whitney, please go ahead.
To be clear, the money for this, is everything in this phase 2 going to be presented as part of the application, or are you segmenting particular parts of the project? And if so, what are they?
So in a way, we do not know how much each piece would cost. So we sort of needed to award the contract and then get those line item totals for us to know what would be included in that application. And that is therefore why it is contingent upon the award contract. we will include things like the playground, fitness facilities, things like that, like the basketball courts and tennis courts. There may be some things like the walking path may be eligible, but if we need to include those, we would have to start speaking with the Department of Natural Resources to get advice on that. But from a general perspective, we would go for the easier options where we're including the courts and the playgrounds.
Okay, thank you. So it sounds like those areas would probably be open if we did rent the field out for an activity or something like that. I can't think of very many instances where we would shut down all of the other amenities and rent the park. So I don't really see how this is going to be a problem as far as extending that 20-year deadline. So thank you for explaining that.
All right, Mr. Rigg?
Just a quick second bite. What is our mitigation strategy and what's the risk with this? Because we're sort of assuming that we're going to get it. Is there a chance that we won't get it? And if so, what's the financing strategy to fill that hole?
We would have to, it is very likely that they will come back with feedback if they have a particular issue with an item on the list. They wouldn't say that the whole application is not eligible. They would likely say that this line item, we have some questions, or we think that this may not be applicable. In a worst case scenario, I believe that we can reapply for the next fiscal year and include more if we were to get constrained. But we can simply just include another eligible item on there. Did that not answer?
I'm just wondering, that's our strategy? Our strategy is to hope it doesn't happen?
No, well, we always have backup strategies, as you know. But again, we'd be looking at our CIP, and we'd be looking at next year's budget as well.
Thank you. All right, at this point, I can entertain a motion.
Okay.
Mr. Hill?
So if I may make the motion, I move to approve the application to the Maryland Department of Natural Resources DNR program, Open Space Annual Program, to partially fund the Duval Field renovations in the amount of $1,500,000.
Second.
Thank you. Further comments? No, thank you.
I think that this is pretty straightforward at this point. Given all the questions we've asked, we do need the money to do this, and I hope that we are successful in receiving this.
And thank you, staff, for your hard work. It's a lot of work went into it, in the application. Okay, let's go to the audience. If you want to speak on this item, we have 3 minutes. That means 180 seconds. That's a lot of time. Some people love to speak. I don't see anyone here. All right. Do I see anyone online? I don't. If you want to speak online, please raise your virtual hand, and I can entertain you. All right. Seeing none, let's come back to the council before we take the vote. Any comments? Should be pretty straightforward. Let's call for action. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? This motion has been approved. Thank you again. Thank you, staff, for your work. Congratulations. Good. You can go home and sleep well. All right. We now go to work session, right? We have 2 work sessions. The first one will be taken by our wonderful city attorney, Stephanie Anderson. This is about the follow-up discussion of the draft language to amend the city code, chapter 125, 141, and 110 to prohibit the storage of certain types of furniture in front yard, and also by our Director of Public Services, Jatinder Kokar, who is also in the audience. Mr. Kokar, thank you for coming.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and residents of City of College Park. The item beforehand is regarding the final language for the new ordinance to be introduced. And we have utilized our July 16th discussion and direction that we got from you all. Our city attorney has written this ordinance. I reviewed it, And I think it captured the sentiment and the spirit that council wants us to go forward, and with some specific direction there. Copy has been shared with you all, and if there is any question specific to those 3 areas, we are basically discussing chapter 125-10, then chapter 141-6A, and then fees related 110-2. So 125 section deals with the housing regulation, and it deals with the responsibilities of owners and occupants. And here the city attorney has tried to clarify the definition of surfaces used for drinking games. That is of importance. And the second area under consideration is chapter 141-6, refuse storage and recycling containers. And last but not the least is the chapter 110, fees and penalties. And to just point out, initial violation for violation of this particular ordinance is $50 for the initial violation, and then for each additional 5-day violation to continue, we'll add another penalty for $100. And there's also discussion regarding 48 hours versus 5 days. That may also be point of discussion from you all if you want us to do any changes to it. But this attempt has been to bring it to a point closer to the final language for the ordinance to be adopted based on you all's direction.
That's all you have? Thank you. I know this is probably the second time, is that we are discussing it on the council. Yeah. Mr. Rigg, thank you for your leadership. You're the one who asked for it. So please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, just a few questions. When we discussed this last time, I had thought that we had talked about the just sort of frank prohibition of tables used for drinking games to be used in the front of homes, but that this appears to only constrain that to the semi-permanent storage of such furniture in front of houses. Am I missing something?
Can you point to the language down?
Yeah, sure. Shall be unlawful to, so on page 78, about
Yes.
2/3 of the way down in the caps. It shall be unlawful to keep tables or such items used for drinking games as semi-permanent fixtures in front and side yards, but you can, and et cetera, right? So am I missing?
And then side yards invisible from the street by pedestrians or those in vehicles. And then we defined what a drinking game was, and the rest of the language comes out.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but am I missing the part where you just can't use it for drinking games in your front yard at all? This just seems to constrain it to keeping as a semi-permanent feature.
Oh, this language here. For drinking games, on the vehicles. So that may be an error there, because the intent was to prevent the tables from being the table or other surfaces from being in the front yard.
Yeah,
or side yard.
I don't want to, well, what the residents of District 3 have told me is that they really don't like it in the front yard, period, end of story. In the backyard seems fine by folks, and the side yard may be okay too, but not just storage as a semi-permanent fixture, but also use of such
So let me make sure, because from the notes from the minutes from the last meeting, that may have not been captured. So are you saying the language as semi-permanent fixtures, you don't want that at all?
No, I want that in addition to use and semi-permanent, use in front yard and semi-permanent fixtures in front and side yard.
I'm making notes.
Thank you. And
Got
then the
it.
other question I have, it was covered in the packet as staff recommending revisions be made to remove language that prohibit the placement of indoor furniture and permanent accessory structures or on covered porches. I just wanted to make sure that made it in.
If you go up where the sentence, I guess it's a little above where we struck, the sentence begins midway. This subsection does not prohibit the placement of furniture, and we,
Oh, I see it. Okay, thank you. And then the last question I had is on fees and penalties. It seems to me that fees and penalties, as amended, because we're not seeing the whole section or the whole chapter, but fees and penalties apply only to use of refuse toters and recycling containers. Do we need anything on fees and penalties for use of tables intended for drinking games in the front yard? Do we need an amendment to the fees and penalties section as well?
I would think we do.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Those are my questions. I guess that also would point towards the suggestions that I would have. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Mr. Adams and Ms. Mackey, and then Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell, and then Ms. Whitney. Mr. Adams, please.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think Councilmember Rigg substantially covered the items that I tended to speak to. I was thinking semi-permanent fixtures or active use could be a way to characterize, what we're speaking to in terms of the tables in the front yards or side yards. I did have some interested to understand, what is the interpretation of visible from the street by pedestrians or those in vehicles. Can Mr. Kokar, could you generalize, how that would potentially be applied? There's many various ways to consider what that means. Can you generalize how that would typically be considered by code officials?
Yeah, I believe that the spirit and intent of this ordinance change is particularly lies on the fact that we do not want our households to give that kind of impression if somebody is going in a public right of way. And we just want to make sure that it doesn't add to it. So to me, if a person who is driving by just in a glance can look at it and observe it, obviously they're going to feel that, oh, it doesn't look good for how our impression goes out. And it won't be no different than if you're a pedestrian and walking your dog or having your child in the stroller. And it will be considered to the same level how you look at it. I don't think you can generalize. You just have to play it out and see, and if it, because both of those people's recommendation will be at the same time.
Understood. I just, I guess my question is the side yard plus that statement, the visible from the street or by a pedestrian or someone in a vehicle. I am aware of some side yards that have fences, and I don't want us to be overly zealous in this. I want us to find the best balance we can. And, I feel front yards is a usage that we hear often. I see that we have this provision related to visible from, let me say, read it again, visible from the street by pedestrians or those in vehicles. I think that substantially covers the use cases that we've heard from residents that they take issue. And I would state, because of those being generally accommodating what we're trying to do, I don't know if we need to explicitly say side yards, because if you have a side yard that has a nice fence and it's not being overly put out into the public that you're playing drinking games, that's on your private property. So I guess my thought would be potentially removing the term side yard from that list, because I feel the other two cover substantially what the issues we have. But I would definitely welcome Councilmember Riggs' take on that.
So I think my response to your question here, Mr. Adams, is like, if there's a fence and you can't see it from outside, like the side yard scenario, then it's a non-issue.
Right.
But if it is exposed like the kind of fencing they may be using, or it's open, then those kind of things will have the same damaging effect what they will have in the front yard. So obviously, it may be case-by-case basis. What can be seen and what cannot be seen, that may have some determination on the part of code enforcement officer.
So is the way it's written, is it's either in the front yard or the side yard and it's visible, or is it the front yard all inclusive, the side yard all inclusive, and then an additional criteria that is more broad that's visible? I'm trying to understand the language of how it's written in that context, because I read it as almost universal, that if it's in the front yard and side yard that it's prohibited, and then also it could be prohibited if it's visible from the street by pedestrians or those in vehicles. And I don't think we need to labor this too much, but I just wanted to point this out that I'm not hearing a strong issue with folks that have drinking games per se in a side yard that is obstructed by a fence. I don't think that's the intent of what we're trying to resolve with this. We're trying to resolve some of the issues of drinking game fixtures being in the front yard and remaining for months on end, as well as just explicit intent of drinking in the front yard to, just encourage other people to join you and other, other concerns. So I'm open to whatever code enforcement feels is appropriate language, but I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Yeah, one more thing I will add, Mr. Adams, like there is a sentiment on the part of the general residency in the city that they may be saying that maybe we are overreaching if something is behind a fence. Technically speaking, you, as a code enforcement officer, you can't even be on your toes and try to look at what's there. Like that is, like legally we shouldn't do that. But we look here towards the direction from the council, and our goal is always to be consistent and fair and uniformly implement the requirements of the code.
And if I may add, my intent here was to say that it's fixtures in the front and side yards, and visible.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah, so
It has to be visible,
It
right?
has to be visible. So if there's a fence or anything, or if you can't see it, we're fine. We wouldn't be encroaching there.
Okay. Mr. Adams, you're okay with that? Okay, thank you. So you have a.
Wait. Would that be front or side yard and visible? I'm just trying to understand language that's, I defer to the city attorney, and if that's what the intent is, that sounds to be what I think is appropriate. I didn't read it that way, but that's okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We have a long queue. So I see Ms. Mackey, then Ms. Mitchell, Ms. Whitney, Mr. Hugh, and Hernandez.
I think the Mayor Pro Tem had her hand up before
Okay,
me.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell.
She had her hand up before me, I think.
Okay, please go ahead, Ms. Mitchell.
Oh, Councilman Mackey, you can go ahead and go first.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You guys are so nice.
I'll be quick. I just wanted to make sure that, I have a question and, I guess a statement. So one of my residents wanted to know how this, ordinance change would affect, people that are keeping their trash cans like in their long driveway, at the back of their driveway because of the way their house is situated. I know that senior citizens can ask for DPW to come and get their trash cans, but there are some younger people that, the side yard might be like, some of our College Park Woods houses have some strange configuration. So I just want to make sure that you could clear that up for me so that I could explain it to my resident on how this code revision would change that. So would people still be able to, that have been having their trash cans in their driveways, would they still, or would that cause a code violation? So she's in the red folder. I don't know if you got the red folder, Do you
Yeah,
want-
there is a public
Yeah,
comment.
there's a comment.
Do you want me to read you the
Yeah,
comment?
Yeah, I think there is the ordinance has the time, like 48 hours is what's written there. But I
Yeah.
think there is a discussion there, or maybe for you all's consideration, that 48 hours versus, 5 days.
No, that's not exactly what I'm asking. I think I should probably just read her question,
Yeah.
and that way I think it would be better.
Please go
And
ahead.
me trying to read, and I do apologize to Mrs. Bellamy for that.
It's a brief letter.
Okay, so when the city initiated the use of totes for trash, there was a concern in my neighborhood, College Park Woods, about the difficulty of getting the totes from the curb, to the curb from the rear of the property, given the hilly nature of our neighborhood. Many residents now store their totes at the far end of the driveway. It is no easy task for some residents to move the totes to the curb on trash day. How will the code revision affect these residents? I agree that totes should not be left in the street or curb. There needs to be some common sense approach to this issue. I personally do not have a problem with this, but I know many of my neighbors would find it very difficult or impossible to move their totes from the rear of the property to the curb on trash day.
Yeah, thank you for reiterating, and I understand this question better
Okay,
than
thank you.
before. I do believe that the way this ordinance amendment is written, you have to follow the time period here as it is mentioned in it, in this draft language. And for that, like you have to, if someone like brings a day before, like if your trash is going to be picked up tomorrow morning, you usually bring around 7:30 or 8. That time varies in different jurisdiction. But they should be within 40 hours before any penalty gets applied to it. It should be taken back. And I do understand there may be some circumstances for people who are not that, like a frequent mover, or they can probably, have a conversation when the code officer is there. And I'm pretty sure they will be amenable to understanding the actual difficulty of it.
Yes, I don't.
Miss Anderson
Yeah,
has.
I wanted to answer, I mean, right now, as drafted, it would prohibit that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
as much as I see what my colleagues are saying, I'm not going to be able to support this because I do know the nature of College Park Woods, and I have taken totes for members that live in the city to the curb, and it is very hard for some of our neighbors. Mrs. Bellamy, she's fine, but there are other neighbors who might be younger, but it is very hard to get your tote from the back up the hill, down a hill, and onto the curb. So, yeah, I'm having trouble with that. I hope that during the course of this discussion, we can work that out. Maybe I can support this. I wanted to make a statement, that I was in support of this because I don't think that we should be having, people playing beer pong in front yards. I think it's unsightly, and I think it's also dangerous because people slow down to see what is going on, and the next thing you know, that we have a car accident. So I do support that, and I do not like the idea of couches or recliners, like indoor furniture in front yards. I think it makes College Park look trashy. I'll just say it. It also gives rodents a home, and I know that we're not an HOA, we're a city, but I think that we do have to have some decorum. So I would like to say that. And I do not think that we need to give, I respect my colleagues for, that say we need to give people 5 days to get their trash totes in. I think that that is just too much. I think that a lot of trash totes are being left in the streets, saving parking spots, and it's very unsightly to have trash totes in the streets 5 days after trash day. So I will not. I could go to maybe 3 days, but I don't think 5 days. I just I hope that we can try to hash this out, where we can have some amenability to circumstances where it's hard to keep your trash totes on the side of your yard and bring them up and down and over to the curb. So I'm willing to hear what my colleagues have to say about that. And I hope the Mayor Pro Tem, she knows the street really well. That street is very difficult for people to get their totes to the curb.
Thank you. Nice segue. Ms. Mitchell?
Yes,
Please
thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councilman Mackey, for your comments. I just wanted to remind us, I know that we're trying to support our colleagues in District 3 by solving an issue, but overall, by approving this policy as it stands, all of us will be beholden to the words and to the infractions. And for myself, and I'm not speaking for Councilman Mackey, but for us in District 4, it would be very hard to, at this junction, to support something as prescriptive. I would like to see if, well, let me just put it right there. I don't want to go any further. I might put my foot in my mouth, and I do not want to do that today. I just want us to be understanding that if it's approved as it stands, we all will have to live with this policy. And I know this is to help support District 3.
Okay. Let's hear from other colleagues, then probably we can see. I think this 5 days thing was included in the previous discussion, right?
Yes.
It's not really a new one, but good to hear that, and thank you for bringing up Ms. Bellamy's. Yeah, she thankfully she saw that. Mr. Hernandez, please go ahead. I believe. No. Actually, Ms. Whitney, Mr. Hugh, and then Mr. Hernandez. Ms. Whitney, please go.
Thank you. A couple of things. I wanted to start with, I do not recall, and in fact, I just checked our blog post from the April meeting. I do not recall us agreeing as a council that we would not allow, that we would put limiting language on furniture that was in an enclosed area on the front porch. I don't think there was any disagreement about the front yard, but I think we walked away from that meeting with general agreement about to come back and talk about drinking games, about those items, but I think everything else we actually did not come to an agreement on. And also, if you read the cover letter, it actually says staff also recommended that revisions be made to remove language which prohibits the placement of indoor furniture. I think actually what you meant to write was remove language that allows the placement of indoor furniture in permanent accessory structures or covered porches. It those changes that prohibit it says this subsection does not prohibit the placement of furniture. It used to say whether designed for indoor or outdoor use, but the revision here that wasn't highlighted in a different color says, so at first I did not notice it, this subsection does not prohibit the placement of furniture designed for outdoor use under a permanent accessory structure or covered porch or gazebo. So I feel like this kind of like put forward things that we did not agree to in the last meeting, and I do not agree to that. So I wanted to state that clearly. I am okay with my colleagues' request about drinking games happening in the front yard or also being stored in the front or side yard and visible. I think the language on that is pretty clear here to me. I could see how you would want to change in front and side yards to in front or side yards. I could see that being a reasonable change as well. I am also okay with not requiring the trash bins to be all the way to the rear of the property. Would it address the concerns of residents if we said it would have to be behind the front plane of the house? I know we do that in some other discussions about where fences can be, et cetera. Would that?
You mean the height of the fence?
No, the position. Yeah, I mean it's related to the height of the fence is related to the position of the fence as regards to the front plan of the house. I just wonder if most people, when they're storing their trash cans, it's kind of in front of the garage, which is actually kind of tucked behind the front door. I wonder if that's something that would address that. Is it not?
Thank you very much for that consideration. The nature of that street is it's like, it's up high and then it comes down and then comes down again.
Okay.
And so a lot of people put their trash cans at the end of their driveway because that's on the lower part of the street. So that's where the issue is.
When you say the end of the driveway, do you mean the end that is closest to the house?
Closest to the house, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So perhaps something that states that if it's adjacent to the house or something, would that address the concern?
Or within a certain footage of the house, or like, I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to go into the weeds. I'm just saying
Miss
that
Anderson
is a
can-
problem.
That would not address all of the concerns for our district, but you have to think about the whole city in its
Yeah.
entirety.
Yeah, and I don't want to just be thinking of my district. I do want to be considerate of the rest of the city. But thank you for that. Yeah.
So looks like that's the concern you have, other than some of the languages in the packet. But as far as the ordinance go, I think the position of the trash bin is probably.
No, mainly, as far as the ordinance goes, I'm concerned about the prohibition of indoor furniture on an enclosed front porch or an accessory structure. That is my concern about that inclusion.
Okay. All right. I see our attorney is taking notes.
May I ask a clarifying question?
Please, go ahead.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I recall that we also did not come to a resolution on that particular item, although I'm not as sure about whether we had similar objections to outdoor furniture on an unenclosed front porch.
I'm trying to remember how that discussion went. If it was, basically, I think covered or,
So in current code, indoor furniture may be used on a front porch or in an accessory structure, full stop. And so I think we did have some discussion, and I don't know whether there's interest in this was brought primarily by Public Services, I believe. But I think the question was whether there's an interest in perhaps a compromise that would permit it in covered porches that are enclosed, but in covered porches that are not enclosed, it would prohibit the use of indoor furniture. And the concern was, as Ms. Mackey articulated, it was, sort of rodents and public health issues around mold and so forth.
Yeah, I can remember vaguely, we had the discussion, but I can't remember the consensus we had.
yeah, I don't think we came to a conclusion on that, but it's an interesting point.
Yeah, I see quite a few houses with the porch having nice outdoor furniture. But I see the concerns there, I didn't think about that.
So, Mayor, I would like to add what Mr. Riggs just said. There was a discussion regarding the weatherproofness of that particular furniture. Like, it may have a roof, but it'll still be exposed to the moisture if it's a rainy day or anything like that. And once something gets wet that is used for inside, it just goes bad.
I understand that, but why is that a public health concern? Like, I don't think.
Moisture.
But mold outside, that's really the concern of the people who own the house. If it's not going, a person walking by on the street is not going to have a mold reaction to, a moldy chair I have on my front porch. I don't know. I just think it's getting a little too HOA for me.
I do understand. I guess if on my own house there is a windy day and one of my shutters fell down, I'll probably get the same, corrective letter from my HOA as anybody else would.
All right, let's follow. I know we've been discussing for a while. Mr. Hugh and then Mr. Hernandez.
Okay, thank you. So I'm having issues with a lot of this and the way it's written. If I recall correctly, I might even been the one who brought it up, but this is just addressing beer pong. it's not addressing, I thought we were going to address cornhole and other things, other types of games. So it's okay to have cornhole boards out in the yard 24/7 every day? Okay. Okay. And then the other one I had asked about, but we didn't seem to really go there much. It's like trampolines and fireballs. I have one resident that has like a spool, like used for cable or something, and it looks really trashy and stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I remember you braced that, the trampoline thing, but I don't think we decided on anything on that, did it?
we did not.
We had a,
It's not addressed in here.
yeah, we had a quick,
And for,
straw
I'm not,
poll.
and I'm not done. I'm going to go on. I normally don't talk much, but I'm going to talk a bit tonight. So don't interrupt me, please. Let me finish.
I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Well, I'm not just saying you, but I'm just like, I just don't need all this, going back and forth over what I'm trying to finish saying. So the other issue was, so I think that needs to be addressed. What's acceptable for front yard permanent storage. The other thing was with the trash cans. From far as I can recall, I thought the rules always were trash cans cannot be out more than 24 hours before trash collection and 24 hours after trash collection. That was what my understanding when I moved into the city 20 years ago, that it's always been. Yeah, and I certainly don't like seeing trash cans out there beyond trash day. And as for the storage, as a former District 4 council member, I'm very well aware of the situations that my District 4 colleagues are speaking of. I know that in my own experience, we have a longish, steepish driveway. And we have both, my wife and I, struggled getting the trash can up when it's been snowing or icy or wet leaves on the ground, or even dry leaves if there's enough before I could address them, where it's slippery. So we keep it at the top of the driveway, parallel to the house. And when my car is parked there, it blocks the view of it. And you have some bushes around it and whatnot. So I certainly wouldn't want to put anybody else in the same situation where there would be an infraction for doing something like that. I certainly do not want to see them stored near the curb or near the front of the house or in full view. I get that. So, yeah, I think that definitely the trash can part needs to be addressed. It seems like we're relaxing it all of a sudden. And I think we need to reconsider what is proper. What kind of look do we want to go for our front yards as for things that aren't like a normal use, sort of thing. I also know a number of our residents who have covered, screened front porches that have wicker chairs with cushions on it that they leave there all the time. And it doesn't get wet, it doesn't, they don't have problems with rodents. I wouldn't want to make it restricted for them. So I think we need to tread carefully and think more about what how we're writing this before we move on with this.
Thank you.
If you all have like some sort of suggested changes to what we have proposed, we'll be glad to incorporate that, and so that it still says, true to its spirit and intent of it. And you guys probably have a stronger, finger on the pulse of our community.
Yeah.
And just tell us, and we will incorporate that. We just want to make sure that what we are doing is legally correct, it's fair, and it's consistent. And I don't think, code enforcement officers are also humans.
Yeah.
What we see difficulty in others, we also probably will face the same difficulty.
Yeah, because you'll be following the code once it's been adopted. Yeah, thank you. Let's finish off. I see Mr. Hernandez and Dr. Esther's hand. It's been.
I'm okay letting Dr. Esther speak before me. I'm having a hard time with this signal, and it just 2 seconds.
Dr. Esther, please go.
I just had a quick question about where this initiated from, and if I may the restriction really had to do with drinking games and people putting tables and furniture out for the purpose of partaking in these games, correct?
If I may speak candidly, I think that was my original intent in sort of opening this particular can of worms, and I think that people just said, "Oh, there's an open can," and started shoving worms in there. So we have a large can with a lot of worms at this point, and we can choose.
I like that.
There's one worm that I care about. The others I care to a greater or lesser extent about.
Thank you.
Sorry, we put you in that position. No, that wasn't in your intent. Is that all you have?
That's it.
All right, so I'm looking at Ms. Anderson. Where do you go from there?
Wait, I'm good. I can
Mr.
come back. That's okay.
Hernandez, I thought you don't want to speak, but do you have something?
No, I did want to speak. I was just fixing something.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Director Kokar, can you please speak to the workload that increase that may occur on code enforcement officers should these ordinance changes go into place? Do you anticipate it adding more time on the requirements of their enforcement?
So are you asking me the question that what would be the operational impact of this change in ordinance?
I think
Is
so.
that what the question is?
So much better said. Yes.
Okay. I think all we expect of our code officers is one day's 8-hour, worth of work by making an honest living. I personally believe that no matter how many number of instances increase, that it'll have over some burden on our workforce. Once you have a conversation with one person one time, I think if the person on the other side also understands the spirit and intent behind what we are trying to achieve, it doesn't have to be done more than once. And I don't believe that the number of transactions that will increase, that will be too much to be considered a burden on our workforce.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So my approach to this is probably different than many of the council members. I want to say I agree with Council Member Whitney's concerns regarding the outdoor furniture and enclosed spaces. I think that we should be able to include that. So my position aligns with hers for whomever is taking like record of it. Folks, I don't know how to say this, but this is I'm a little concerned as to why us as a body have to look at this, but maybe it's just my ignorance because I don't really know what gives us the right to say what considers what looks normal in a front yard, right? I think I understand Councilmember Rigg issue with the particular drinking games being in his neighborhood, not in the neighborhood surrounding him. And I understand that when residents come together and they organize and champion a concern, that it's something that we should take under consideration. So I do, on his primary concern, am supportive to help try to address that. What I have an issue with is, and some of the folks have said it tonight, and I've said it previously, us taking an HOA stance on the properties. I definitely don't want folks to feel like they don't have that privacy and the right to use their property however they choose to use it. So when going through and making the changes from tonight's discussion, my recommendation to answer Director Kokar's request is please look to try to thread the needle, right, of respecting and giving the property owners the benefit of the doubt. I think we understand or know, where some of those problem issues may arise and where the spirit of this ordinance change request is coming from. And as far as the trash totes, I think I had recommended not 48 hours. I think I said 3 or 4 days, given the fact that some of our folks are are disabled or have issues or they go on vacation. I think I personally reject the ideas that, you know, because the particular property has something in front of the house, it makes the area look trashy. Like, I think that it's something that some people choose to live that way, or like have that certain thing, and you know, you can have a normal conversation with your neighbor in lieu of trying to pass a whole ordinance. But that's where my comments and position is, and open to feedback or questions from my colleagues.
Good, thank you. I spent a long conversation, so looking at our staff, especially our attorney. Please go. Oh, sorry, I totally missed it. My apologies. Ms. Ott?
Just real quick, I would like some clarification on the fees and penalties portion of this. A lot of students are first-time renters in their homes. How would they be notified of this violation? And is there a way to make sure that they are notified before their violation continues and they continue to have like a fee accruant?
So, ma'am, if I understood your question correctly, we have few different type of efforts that we do in our code enforcement group within Public Services Department. We have knock and talk and some community conversation that my code enforcement officer have with the community now. Like, we are not in full swing, but we make every effort. And that was one of the attempts that we had done to designate one code officer for one area. If you will see at our latest organization chart, we have specified code enforcement officer, and we are encouraging them to go at least visit maybe in a couple of months, one meeting in their area with their homeowners association and develop a rapport with them. So like knock and talk and those attending the community organization meetings, that really not only allows the code officer to put a face to the people when they are reading an email or having a conversation on a phone. So we are encouraging that behavior within our staff.
Thank you. Anna, please go.
Yeah, I also have a question. I wasn't here for the prior meeting where this was discussed, but I guess I just want some clarity on chapter 125. Is it specifically an issue where drinking games and beer pong is specifically the issue, or is it, and we're trying to prohibit that completely, or is it just specifically the storing of tables and we're trying to eradicate tables being stored in the front yards and the side or anywhere where it's visible so that it can be seen?
Please go.
So as I stated, I kind of opened this can of worms, and this can of worms is I opened after sort of 10 years of, so I've worked very at the micro level with our residents, and have successfully suggested in many cases that people not indulge in drinking games in their front yards and in communities where there are like kids and stuff. And that works about 80% of the time, but it does not work 100% of the time. And so after 10 years of hearing complaints, I decided that it would be an appropriate matter to consider just the prohibition of one specific type of furniture to be used in the front yard that is associated with drinking, unsightly drinking games. And so that's kind of how that ripped the can off the can of worms. And then, it turns out there's a lot of other things that really irritate people too. So we've been sort of discussing that other range of things that people also find irritating ever since then. But that's kind of how this discussion started. Does that clarify?
Thank you. All right, Ms. Anderson, so we have started the discussion of the kind of high level on the three different buckets. The one is the drinking games, the other is the storing furnitures in the enclosed porches, and the other one is the trash cans. So hearing all the conversation, what is your thoughts, or what do you suggest going forward?
Well, I'm still looking for the guidance, because this was, the idea here was to put the proposed language out. So if we don't like it, if the council doesn't like it, we won't touch it. and what they agree on, or with some tweaks, it would then come back to you in the form of an ordinance.
Yeah.
So I'm still wanting to make sure that I capture the council's desires in terms of these issues.
Thank you. Correct me, I'm wrong. I think the first bucket is more agreeable. Is that, am I correct, Mr. Bragg?
I believe so. I was going to suggest that we separate it into 3 points of discussion and see whether there's consensus around each one.
Right,
The first one being whether there's general consensus over the sort of prohibition of furniture associated with drinking games in the front yard and storage in the side yard where it is visible. I think that there may be consensus on the council about that. The second matter would be whether there's any interest among the council, among a majority of council, to regulate the use of indoor furniture on a covered, unenclosed porch. I suspect there may be some who are interested in that and some who are not interested in that.
Yeah.
And then the third, thing to discuss, and I'm hoping we can do all this relatively quickly, is how long to allow people to have their trash toters out at the curb, because currently I believe it's 5 days, but we've talked about making it 48 hours, we talked about making it 2 to 3 days. And then a shadow fourth bucket is other stuff that we've kind of like nibbled around the edges on, like trampolines and so forth too, I suppose. So anyway, that's how I would consider.
So I totally agree with you. So let's start with the first bucket about the drinking game furniture. What does the council
Mr. Mayor,
actually?
I think Councilmember Adams has something to say.
Mr. Adams, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'd actually like to separate the first bucket, if that is okay. I think there's the semi-permanent usage, and I think there's the active usage, and I think there might be a difference of opinion on the council for those 2 items. But I also recognize I don't know if we're going to hit consensus, and that's okay. We don't have to do that every time. But I do appreciate that's one of the reasons I had my hand up too, was to kind of separate in different buckets. But I was thinking that there might be some difference of opinion between semi-permanent fixtures as well as active usage, because one is you're just, every time you go by your neighbor's home or someone that lives down the block, there is a beer pong table out in the front yard that it just it just stays there 6 out of 12 months out of the year. And then there's also the discussion point of what is reasonable usage of your home, and if you wanted to play beer pong today, is that in your front yard? Would that be allowed? So I thought it might be helpful to break up those.
What do you think, Mr. Rick?
Anything that makes it simpler, I'm in favor of, but that sounds like it complicates it. But I defer to Mr. Adams.
Well, let's just go with what Councilman Riggs said, and then if it gets complicated, we can get complicated.
If I could add some guidance, other statutes that I've said, they specifically prohibit beer pong tables. I mean, they list it. They don't they're not hiding it or anything. In some other towns that have universities, it's straight to the point. You can't have it.
Without using the language you have kind of.
Point of clarification: is it storage, or is it like they can't play, like during whenever they want to play?
It didn't get to the play. It might
Like, are we
be the
banning beer pong in the
storage.
front yard?
It's only storage, yeah.
It's prohibiting beer pong tables where they can be seen.
Will that make the council more agreeable, Mr. Rigg? What our attorney is suggesting? Yeah, we're talking about the first bucket.
All right, my proposal is to prohibit the use of beer pong tables in the front of a residence in the city of College Park and prohibit the storage of it in a visible side yard.
What, Mr. Adams, what do you think?
I think we're talking about the storage and usage in the context of what you can visibly see if it's in your front or side yard, and I support that. I think we've tried to look at many other avenues to control this issue, and we haven't been successful. And I think this is a way to address the request from residents. So yes, I support that.
I'm happy that 2 council members from District 3 actually agreed to it, because this is an issue that's happening in District 3 more, so I entertain that. What the rest of the council think?
I'm in favor of that precisely as well.
Okay. Thank you. No, that helps. Online? Mr. Hernandez?
I was of the opinion that this was just storage. I don't necessarily want to ban beer pong from College Park, but I guess this is the direction it's going in. If I'm
Only the
just in
front yard. They can play in the backyards, backyards, yeah.
It's just where it's visible.
Oh, they can play in the side yard and the backyards, just not in the front yard.
Not, yes, that's correct, yeah. They can still play, we're not prohibiting the game. All right.
Okay, I mean, like, I see the will of the council, but like, just.
Okay, so,
And you've heard my.
does that make your life easy, Miss Anderson?
Well, I do have a point of clarification. Are you saying front yard and side yard, anything where it can be visibly seen from the street? Okay, front and
Okay.
side. Okay.
That is the consensus. Good. We are making some progress. All right, let's go to the second bucket, which is about the furnitures in the covered porches. Any suggestion to make simple? or do you really think we shouldn't be going that far? Please go ahead.
I suspect there's not any interest in this for council, but I think, if anything, there may be an interest in uncovered, unenclosed front porches, indoor furniture usage in covered, unenclosed front porches, but there might not be.
Yeah, it'll be very hard to have consensus. I see all kind of.
I wanted to say, can I say something?
Please go ahead.
So, I had a resident who approached me on this and said that their neighbor stores beds on their front porch. And so, I don't think that that should be allowed. You know, that's pretty unsightly. So, this is just a very hard issue because, you know, I have a wicker rocking chair that I put on my front porch, and it has a cushion on it, and is that considered indoor? It's a wicker, but the cushion is a cloth cushion. So I think that maybe we might need to think about this a little bit more. I don't know, but I don't think people should store mattresses on their front porch. I mean, a resident complained to me that her neighbor had, you know, 2 mattresses behind a couch on their front porch. So,
That's right.
you know, that's very unsightly and makes the neighborhood look
Sure.
unsightly.
Thank you. And, you know, I think, in my mind, I think the best argument are, like, if you were to drive through some parts of our community, you'd see, like, fully stuffed, like, Easy Boy style chairs. And I know from having lived next to a house that had one of those out on the front porch for a long time, they do attract rodents, but they're perfectly legal. I think, you know, I think the argument would be in favor of figuring out whether there would be a way to regulate, you know, things that are truly indoor furniture versus like this. I agree with Ms. Mackey that there's this kind of liminal, you know, class of furniture that can be used indoor or can be used outdoor, and I don't think we'd want to restrict that. Like wicker furniture is a great example
Agree.
of that.
There are 2 extremes. I
But,
mean,
but couches, like full-on couches, I don't know. I mean, maybe, or beds, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe, but I don't know. You know, this is not a hill I'm gonna die on.
can he come back and revisit it? Looks like it needs more more ideas and more thoughts. Mr. Young?
We can come back, revisit. I guarantee it won't be anytime this year. We have a number of issues that the council has, but so it'd probably be sometime, probably late January.
The good news is we have an agreement on the first bucket. The second one, probably staff and attorney needs more input from us. So if we could help them with more ideas, I think. What about the third bucket, the recycling bins? Do you really want to make change or want to keep it the way it is now? Number of days, right?
Mr. Mayor, if I can offer a suggestion, I would highly recommend making it 48 hours for the bins have to be collected back.
Thank you for helping. What do you think? 4 days is a good day, good number?
She said 48 hours.
Oh, 48 hours, okay, 2 days. Right,
No, not 4 days, please.
48 hours, okay. I like that, actually. Any heartburn on that?
That was the suggestion.
Can we meet in the middle and do 3 days? Because sometimes people go out, for vacation.
Like the freedom of expression. So, Mr. Hernandez is 36 hours. No, 72 hours, rather.
I mean, Ms. Mayor, I'm not, we can do 40 hours, and then if we come back on the revision and there's a
Okay,
consensus to move it up,
I agree,
whatever,
I like
we can
that.
go there.
Let's
Yeah.
put 48 hours. Ms. Anderson?
I hear you. I'm taking notes from Ms. Anderson. No, I'm
Okay.
not.
Thank you.
48 hours. 48 hours.
Can I keep all these three like that? I mean, the first one, we're pretty much good on that. We have the language. The second one will be keeping, the third one will be keeping on 48 hours. And the middle one, we haven't decided, so, yeah, we're not gonna do anything.
So to be clear, it's just how long to allow people to have trash totes at the curb. We're not talking about, it's just
The
at the curb.
locations, no.
Okay, great.
We're not talking about the location. All right, thank you. It's been a long discussion. I didn't think about this. But thank you, everyone. Can I go to the second one? Thank you, Mr. Coker. I know it's been a long night for you.
Thank you, everyone.
14BA, who is going to take that? Childcare partnership? Affordable childcare partnership, is Mr. Gardiner.
All right, good. Thank you, Mayor and Council. And this item was brought to us by Council Members Whitney and Adams. So I'll kick it off and offer them, ask if they want to kind of take it after my introduction. But as you are aware, the council's been supportive of identifying ways to make childcare more accessible and more affordable in College Park. And one of your initiatives in 2019 was to partner with the university, and that led to the creation of the University of Maryland Child Care Center on Calvert Road. And as part of the agreement, the city negotiated a certain number of seats available for city residents, not at a discounted price, but just to make them available. And city residents have taken advantage of those seats. Recently, the council provided a letter regarding ways that the state may consider to make childcare more affordable by changing the staffing ratios. And council members Adams and Whitney brought forward initially two different agenda requests to look at the possibilities of the city using business assistance programs, using communications and marketing to make sure that residents are aware of the state programs that offer subsidies for childcare, and then also consider forming a task force that would assist in identifying legislation during the General Assembly session in 2025 that could be beneficial to residents in terms of decreasing daycare costs and or increasing accessibility. So those are the issues that were brought to our attention. There's some options that are listed in the agenda form that you might want to consider, including appointing a task force, but also getting specific information from staff or the task force regarding child care assistance, either programs, existing programs, or new programs that council could consider.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. We'll be going back to the council options that you're suggesting, but I want to give opportunity to Mr. Adams and Ms. Whitney, and I see Mayor Pro Tem, you also raised a hand after two of our colleagues to speak, then is your chance. Mr. Adams, please go ahead first.
Yeah, thank you to the city staff for putting together a good report here and teeing us off on this conversation. It's a very important conversation for many of our residents, both now and in the future. And so I think very supportive of some of the options that are put forward. I think Councilmember Whitney's proposal to have a task force to, at a minimum, review potential legislative actions that are proposed in the next upcoming General Assembly, I think would be excellent. But I also definitely support making sure our city lobbyists understand that this is a priority of our council to ensure affordable childcare options for our residents. And I also definitely do support evaluation of city programs such as business retention and attraction grants, evaluation of our marketing capabilities for letting our residents be aware of the child care subsidy program or scholarship program that's available to the state. So I think if I had a recommendation, I would go substantially with one, definitely four. So one is create and appoint a task force as described above. Two, four, I would also not rely exclusively, but I would also ask our city lobbyists to help champion affordable childcare options, and you know, depending on the task and the makeup of the task force, if they were able to evaluate some of the existing programs out there and provide advisement to the council on potential actions to be taken, I think that would be a good path forward. So I think a lot of our next steps could be task force related, as well as you know, make sure our city lobbyists understand that this is a priority of ours.
Thank you.
And I'll defer now to Councilmember Whitney. Thank you.
Yeah, please, and thank you to both of you for your leadership. Ms. Whitney?
Thank you. I think Councilmember Adams summarized very well what I think the vision could be for the task force, and that it would not have to be limited solely to looking at legislation from this upcoming session, but that could be one of the first priorities, since that is more timely, but looking broadly at initiatives that might be available that could make childcare more affordable and accessible in the city. Another suggestion that I had early on in my time on council was that, you know, there's a home-based daycare right down the street from me, and I knew a family that actually was renting in College Park and taking their children to that daycare, and then they moved to Wheaton, and they love it so much that they drive back from Wheaton to drop their children off at that daycare right down the street from me. And that made me think that, you know, often home-based programs like that are a bit more affordable, and that could also be, I think, a job creator for people in the community. And perhaps what we could do is really kind of remove some of the hurdles to establishing a safe and legal home daycare, and perhaps put together a startup kit that includes all the regulations, and then maybe also connect people who have well-regarded home daycares with people who are interested in starting one in the city, and that would create more accessibility as well. And that could be, you know, a thing that a task force might consider as well.
Good, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem and Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as a 35-year administrator in early childhood, I'm going to tell you the following. We're creating a will when there's something that already exists. You have the Office of Child Care that could assist you with Councilmember Whitney's component about family child care. They have orientation. They have the whole setup from A to Z. You have the Department of Education that can tell you currently what funding is available as far as for the parents, as far as for accreditation. Lastly, you have the National Association of Education of Young Children, who also will be glad to come to the table. No one has called them, but they will be glad to come to the table. Fourth point, the education committee that we have in the city of College Park, as a former member and chair, we talked about issues regarding about childcare and how to get information disseminated out to the residents in College Park. There was a actual book that was devised and sent out to residents and put on a website many years ago. That's something that can be brushed off as well. And I would say the last component, the city university partnership could be brought to the table, because that's something that they are also looking into as regards to education, especially early childhood education and quality education. So I would say that establishing a task force may not be necessary at this time. I think we would need to, I would yield to our Education Advisory Committee, and I also would say yield to the stakeholders, external stakeholders, that we could bring to the Education Advisory Committee to have a broader discussion to make recommendations. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those resources, and thank you for your service in this field. You have a ton of experience. Thank you. Mr. Hernandez. And then Ms.
Hi,
Whitney.
yes, so I want to thank Councilmember Adams and Councilmember Whitney for bringing this issue to council's attention, and like really just trying to focus in our efforts. So I wasn't really tracking the discussions, not being very familiar with the early child care education system myself. But when I started asking questions, I think it was after we sent the letter, I started realizing that many of the regulations currently in place by the state and all of the other types of systems that help regulate this this matter are in place for a reason. And I don't claim to be an expert at all, but we have like a number of different experts, given the fact that College Park has so many different early child care resources. My recommendation is using whatever body that we do have to go and interview and meet not only with like their like front office administrations, but also with like the educators themselves. I think we saw a note in from someone that works at the University of Maryland's Child Care Development Center. And I mean, they're gonna know this field best. I do take pause increasing like the student to teacher ratios. I know these are very costly programs, so I don't really have a solution to like propose right now at this time, like a silver bullet. But I do know that we have local daycares. We have Monarch Preschool up in North College Park. We also have our PG public school systems, who also provides that daycare system for children, I believe 4 to 5 years old. This is preschool, not necessarily like the regular school. So I feel like if we're going to tackle this issue, we're going to need to do it in such a way that really addresses a holistic response, because there's so many different avenues here. I do think this is a little outside of the city's like reach, but I know that we can do our best to try to help our residents. So any partnership opportunities with nonprofits, non-governmental organizations, and like other levels of government are going to be necessary for us to really be able to push the ball on this. So my big push is let's make sure we talk to the experts before making any major recommendations. And if we have the opportunity, trying to engage with parents, both who have children in the early child care education system and those that, don't, and better understanding why. I know that we presume it's cost, but it could be just a lack of awareness that these programs exist. Those are my comments.
Fantastic. Thank you. Let's see. Dr. Estes and then Ms. Whitney.
I'd like to thank everyone who's spoken thus far and acknowledge Mayor Pro Tem's experience and our suggestions. I do think that Councilmember Hernandez made the argument for the task force. I think that bringing together those who have an expertise, have an interest in this, and to be able to focus on it will allow for the outreach to those bodies he's just mentioned. I acknowledge that the Education Advisory Council exists and does good work, but there are other things that they're focused on. And now to sort of dump this into their lap, I think could be challenging and would not allow the focus. So I think we should think seriously about getting individuals together who can do this focused work. We know of at least 2 people within District 2 who've expressed interest in this, and I am certain that throughout the city there are people who would be willing.
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Whitney, what do you think about the task force idea, and how do you want to?
I think Councilmember Esters just pretty much said exactly what I was going to say. Thank you. So yes, agreed. We should bringing experts to the table. I think the EAC has a very specific mission right now, and I'd love to hear from Councilmember Mackey on this, since she sits in on those meetings. But I feel like they do a lot already, and I think having a separate task force that focuses on this is a great idea for all the mentions that Councilmember Hernandez and Councilmember Esters mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. What does the rest of the council think, Ms. Mackey?
Would you like me to answer that? So I do sit in on the EAC meetings, and I know that they are pretty spread very thin. But I do also recognize that there are some experts that, like my colleague said, that we should definitely, and I appreciate her bringing those forward, that we should definitely be using. So I think that we should ask the EAC before we make a decision for them, but I do know that they are spread thin, and give them the opportunity to say yes or no, because they might not be able, but it would be, I think, wonderful if we could find that book that my colleague alluded to, and also utilize the opportunities that there are in the county and in the state and even the federal government for all this, for childcare. So that was what I wanted to say on the issue. I'm supportive of this. I think that it's a heavy burden for our young families, and we want to be encouraging young families to stay in College Park and to come to College Park and live and make their homes. So I think having this information available is really important. Task force and not task force, I just think we need to get the work done. And I don't think we should speak for the EAC without consulting with them and asking them what they're thinking, because I wouldn't like that if that was done to me. I do have one question for the city manager that a resident posed to me just late today, late yesterday, and I didn't get to email it to you, and I do apologize for that. I was pretty busy today. So they wanted to know what the approximate value of the no-cost lease to the Calvert Road School is. So if you could get that to me so I could pass that on to them. You don't have to give it to me right now.
The approximate value of the property?
They said what would be like, what would the lease be?
What would a normal, I can get that for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I apologize for not getting it to you sooner and putting on the spot, and there's no rush.
Don't worry about that. I would not have had a chance to do that today.
Yeah, and
Y'all
I
have me very
didn't have
busy
the chance
today.
to even send you an email on that, so I appreciate that. That was all. I just think it's an important thing that we utilize the things that we have available to us, and also look to things that we might have to incorporate. So, but please, somebody contact EAC. I can contact them if you want me to.
Certainly.
Would
So
you
looks
like me
like,
to?
yeah, we can go there. Looks like you're not necessarily against forming a task force, but you want to have those resources that the Mayor Pro Tem mentioned to be included and considered by them, the new task force. Let me hear from the rest of the council. Mr. Reagan, Mr. Hill, what do you think about
Councilman
forming a
Hernandez has
task
been
force
waiting as well.
to explore all these ideas?
I mean, I guess I'm ambivalent about a task force versus non-task force. I kind of think that there's an Occam's razor approach that we could take here, and if we want to make childcare more affordable in the city, we simply just subsidize childcare for city residents. I think that that's a thing that we could do, with the next budget session if there's enough money left over after Duval Field renovation. But I think that that's, whether there's additional measures that we could or should take, I'm somewhat indifferent to. I think as a matter of instinct, there's probably not going to be a lot of state money available for this kind of thing for at least a while. There's the blueprint for Maryland's future that still is badly in need of funding, and there's underfunded pension obligations at the state level as well. And I think that those are going to get in line before there's any sort of large-scale child care subsidies. With that said, I mean, I still bear the scars of paying cheapers $40,000 a year for my kids in childcare, and that was 15, 18 years ago. So yeah, I mean, I feel the pain. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I don't know, they're sort of half-baked, and I apologize for that. I don't know whether they're helpful for this.
No, thank you. That's helpful. Mr. Hill.
Thank you. I come from an area where the common saying was it takes a village to raise a child. And, child care and child development are very important for the success of a society. And I think that we shouldn't take this lightly. I think there should be a task force for this. I think we need proper direction on how to go forward with this. So I would be in full support of such a task force.
So looks like there's... Oh, Mr. Adams, I didn't see that. My apologies.
You got Councilman Hernandez is still waiting.
Oh.
This is down there. It was an old hand.
He changed his mind, it looks like. Mr. Adams, please go ahead.
It was an old hand. I think I said what I wanted to say, and everybody was good. Thank you.
Good. Mr. Adams?
Yeah, I just wanted to point something out because we have different folks watching this meeting. Is the state has the child care subsidy program, which was funded at $150 million this fiscal year, and they already had to amend it to increase it to $270 million because it was so subscribed to, and the average applicant gets $9,000 in subsidy per kid, and so it's a very generous subsidy. And to put in perspective, you would need to have 60% AMI income in our area to qualify for that. But the national standard for childhood or for child care affordability is 7% of your annual income. And I am aware that many people are paying 20 upwards to 30% of their income to child care. And so there's a major gap. The state is doing an excellent job of supporting child care for folks under 60% AMI, but folks that are above that threshold are often significantly burdened with the cost. And I think a task force based on what the Mayor Pro Tem said, Councilmember Hernandez, Councilmember Esters, I think it sounds to me that we're not going to always reach consensus on this council about where we should go and how we should go about it, but we are anticipating some potential bills at the General Assembly. The comptroller is going to come out with a child care report in the next few months. And so based upon kind of how our discussions have already been ongoing, I think it'd have a lot of value to have a task force put together to review this and advise the council so that if we wanted to take action, we would do it in a really good public process with good input from the right folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to say this, and it's not being facetious, nor is it being mean when I'm saying this. I don't really think we need a task force, but I'm going to go with the overarching goal, and I'm going to sit back and I'm going to see what the outcome is. With that being said, I will ask for two things. Number one, to move that the request be made to EAC if they have the infrastructure to do this. If not, the number two, come back and the council will create a task force to study the charge of the information related to child care, meaning family child care and daycare centers. And number two, what will be the thought process regarding subsidizing child care for the city of College Park? And number three, what will it take in order to create legislation to reduce the ratios currently in place by state law to make it more amenable for families who are seeking childcare for the future?
Thank you. So it looks like what you're suggesting, Mayor Pro Tem, approaching our ESC, Education Advisory Committee, and see if they can do the work of the task force, and then if they don't agree, if they do not have the bandwidth, then come back to the council with the proposal of a creating a task force. Is that you're asking? I think that is that reasonable? I know, Ms. Whitney, you are the one who asked for the task force idea.
Yeah, I believe that's, Councilmember Mackey suggested just that, so I think that's a great idea. I totally agree with that. I don't know what Councilmember Adams' position on that is. But
And I think that probably either you and the Mayor Pro Tem, I don't think I should be the one that asks them. I think it should
No,
come
staff
from-
can actually do that.
Yeah, we'll take care of that. We'll
Okay, great.
We'll get with Ms. Barber and the EAC folks and get an answer, and
There
then
you
we'll
go.
know how to proceed from there.
Thank you.
And I fully support. Yeah. I think it's a good
Absolutely,
idea.
good,
Thank you.
good. Here you go. We have a consensus. I like that. Thank you. So yeah, you have come to the very end of the meeting. Number 15 is the request for status of the future agenda items. I haven't seen any application.
Yes,
We're
Mr.
so
Mayor, I'd
much
like
sucked
to
up by
bring
the
a
dual
future
field.
agenda item that I had stated before the last session was the proposal to create a protocol for annexation of property into the city of College Park.
Is that, did you submit an application?
I submitted the
Oh,
proposal.
you do?
Yes, I did.
Sorry, my apologies for the oversight. Did we add that, Ms. Allen? Okay, we can take another vote if that is not a problem. So the item was, Ms. Mitchell, can you repeat the proposal?
Sure. I'm asking for a future agenda request to discuss creating a protocol of annexation of property into the city of College Park for future use.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? It's been added, if it's not added.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? Any other items I think you've been thinking of? All right, if not, let's go to number 16, which is comments from the fantastic audience in the room. You have two great audience. If you have anything on your mind, please, this is the time to speak. I also have a few online. If you want to speak anything, this is the time. Raise your virtual hand. I will allow you to speak. All right, seeing none, let's come back to the council. I'll start from my left, Councilman Rigg.
Pass.
Council comment. Mr. Adams.
Yes, a few of us attended the National League of Cities conference last week in Tampa Bay. It was definitely a lot of great learning, and I just want to highlight one item, and I spoke to it today during part of the Duval Field discussion, is that there was a presentation on best practices to demonstrate the value in the cost of projects that you do across your community, and that's why I stress that sign that says how much a large capital improvement project costs, because I think some of our residents might think that's a $2.5–3 million investment, but it's a $7+ million investment. I think we need to be direct on that and proud of that, because it's going to give a great amenity, but recognize that it has true cost. And so that's an example of a lesson learned that we can that I feel is actionable. But I also want to highlight that our Mayor Pro Tem, Ms. Denise Mitchell, was the National Black Caucus of local elected officials president, and served in that position, and just want to highlight that her service to the National League of Cities and how that also enhances the reputation and the credibility and the opportunities for the city of College Park. So I want to give her a round of applause for her position.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
service, Ms. Mitchell. Congratulations. Anything else? And great to hear from you and everyone. Councilmember He also went there, and Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell. Yeah, I'd like to hear from you all the good ideas and best practices you have learned at the conference, NLC. Thank you. Maybe you can have the presentation or something. You can teach us everything you have brought from NLC. Anything else, Mr. Adams?
I do have a copy of a presentation that was I thought was excellent, and so I'll send it around
Please
to
do.
our colleagues. It was for the first year suburbs council that one of our colleagues, Emmett Jordan, the mayor of Greenbelt, is a key NLC position on that council. But they had an excellent presentation. I'll pass it around to everyone. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Ms. Mackey.
Yes, I went to the COG Chesapeake Bay Policy Committee. And mostly the discussions were on what the election how the election affects the future of environmental issues and water policy, and the budgets of both Virginia, the District of Columbia, and Maryland for environmental issues. So that was most of our discussion. It was very interesting. There was nice things and sad things. So it was an interesting conversation. I'm thankful to be on that committee. And I also today went to CMAS and along with Director Kokar, the city manager, and Mr. Days, and it was a very interesting CMAS, and the collaboration between the university and the city and the PG County Police Force is, I think we all have the same goals for safety and well-being of not only the students, but also all city residents. So it was a very uplifting time, and I encourage my council colleagues to try to attend at least once in their time on council. And I also wanted to take this opportunity to just wish the staff and the city residents and my colleagues a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell, welcome back from NLC.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, thank you to Councilmember Adams, Councilmember Hugh, and City Manager Young, and myself. We all attended the National League of Cities conference in Tampa. It was also the 100th year for NLC and was really a very exciting time down there and a lot of worthwhile workshops. Myself and Councilmember Hugh were able to attend the Big City Mayors Roundtable, and it was a well-received roundtable for mayors from all across the country, talking from homelessness to AI to stormwater management mitigation. So I do have a book for each one of you I brought back, as well as some information that hopefully the three of us collectively together can give you a well-informed report of what occurred at NLC. Also wanted to say that I was able to attend the Smart City Council meeting. That was about a week ago, and I received some information in regards to a municipal survey that I would be glad to share with each and every one of you. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you again for attending, and thank you, Mr. Young, for attending NLC as well. I did.
Motion to extend.
All in
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion extended. We probably need only 5 more minutes. So very briefly, I just want to mention 2 things happened last week. Thursday, along with Councilmember Hernandez, I went to testify at the Prince George's County Council about the fire department staff reassignment plan. It was very much well attended. There were about 2 hours long testimonies, and I believe at least 50 or 60 people actually testified, and people are, some of them are very frustrated what is happening throughout the county, especially in this area, Greenbelt, Barton Heights, and some of our College Park residents also attended and testified. On the following day, I had the opportunity to meet with some of the fire department leadership at the Branchville Fire Department, along with Councilmember Whitney and Councilmember Lachitra Brown, Dr. Brown. at the Branchville Fire Department, they had different issues. Those are mainly related to the fire recruitment of volunteer firefighters. So we actually learned quite a bit that it is kind of difficult for many volunteers to get certified. There is a major problem in this county. They get quite a bit of interest from the University of Maryland campus community. Many students apply for to become volunteers, but many of them ends up not doing it because of very long time it takes to become volunteer firefighters. So thankfully, Senator Rosa Pope and County Council Member Olson was there too. Mayor of Bowen Heights was there as well. We did talk about how we can actually help them to get more volunteers at the Branchville and other fire stations. So it was a very productive discussion, and hopefully there will be some action items taken. That's all I have. Thank you, Ms. Whitney.
Thank you. Really just a follow-up pointer off of what Councilmember Mackey said at the beginning of the meeting about safety this time of year. Just remember not to leave your car running with the keys in it. I know that sounds like a kind of an obvious thing, but a lot of people do that to warm up their cars, and a lot of car thefts happen this time of year, like through the winter season, because people are doing that. So please don't.
Thank you. Good advice. Dr. Asters.
I would just like to recognize that we're getting to the end of the semester, and I want to encourage students and those who work at higher education institutions to hold on. We are almost there, and wish everyone luck with their finals.
Oh, thank you. Good luck. Mr. Hill.
Yes, thank you very much. I learned a lot at the MML conference in Cambridge before going to the NLC conference in Tampa. It's been a very busy season for me. I will also be graduating from the Prince George's County, the Maryland Parks and Planning classes that I've been taking over the past 9 weeks as well.
Good.
My brain's getting full. I need a vacation, so I will be headed out of town on Thanksgiving, and I won't be coming back till after our last meeting for December. So I will try to attend the council meetings as much as possible virtually, but I will be in Europe, and the time difference will be kind of challenging. So.
Yeah,
I will try my best.
We only have 2 meetings in December.
Yeah, we want to ask our neighbors and our residents to look out for each other. A lot of people will be traveling, and the houses may be empty, and this is a time where it's a time of opportunity, let's put it that way. So look out for your neighbors and be safe.
Thank you.
I don't know about the premises check.
Yeah. The vacation check, premise check?
Oh, yeah, yes, there's the vacation check, the program that you can register with the Prince George's Police.
And it is absolutely free. It is
Yes.
not cost. So to a staff, I saw some actually social media posts on the Bowen Heights, probably City of Bowen Heights or Gilbert. They are actually promoting this premise check or vacation check by the police department on their website. I wonder if we could do something similar. Maybe Mr. Gardiner, the communication department.
Just like an Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah, there.
Yeah, I'll follow up. I think we already actually have that out, but I'll follow up on that. But I believe we already have that out on a number of our communication channels.
Thank you. It's a free program. It's a wonderful program, but many of our residents do not know, which is unfortunate. All right, finally, Mr. Hernandez, stay safe while you travel.
Yes, of course. Yes, I helped attend and represent the city with Mayor Kabir at the firefighters county council's hearing on the firefighting reallocation. I did have a different thing that I wanted to share though. I was asked by Congressman Ivy's office to sit on the Service Academy nomination board for students interested in attending the various military service academies. Really great opportunity. Got to hear from some outstanding students, including some of the high schools that service our area, to include Parkdale, Duval, and Eleanor Roosevelt. There was some students from other that were attending some of the private schools, but it was just a great opportunity to hear from some of these high-speed students interested in pursuing some of these academies. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to help Congressman Ivy in his nomination.
Thank you. Congratulations. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. All right, let's go to a student liaison, Ms. Ott.
I would also like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope all the students do well on the finals coming up.
Certainly. Ms. McDonald?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for welcoming me to sit as a deputy student liaison. You guys have been very gracious, and I appreciate that. And Erica has done a very good job in keeping me up to date with everything. So thank you guys for that.
Yeah, and thank you for stepping up and for coming to this wonderful opportunity. We really value that, and thank you for taking this up. I know it's a lot of work. Staying late is not easy. Thank you. Let's see, finally, Mr. Young.
I just have a couple of things to cover at the end of the night. Just wanted to remind our residents and students that, this is a time of year where many people experience many of the stresses of life during the holiday season, and that we have resources available to them through our Care Solace program, as well as through the 988 number. And we'd encourage them to reach out if they're under some mental health stress, and we can get you resources to you quickly. The second thing is I think you might treat tonight's exercise and vote on the Duval Field as a primer for what we're going to be experiencing with the upcoming budget process. One of the things that we have noticed as we are working with the department directors on a daily basis as we're implementing this year's budget and the acquisitions, what we are seeing is cost escalation, pretty substantial for equipment, as well as our supplies and services that we utilize to carry out the duties of the city. So pretty much from A to Z, costs of consultants are going up, their charges. It is the materials that we utilize, that they utilize to deliver the services for our streets and paving. All of those have gone up substantially. So we are doing everything we can to try and contain all of those costs. And it is something that is definitely on our mind as we're entering into getting ready to talk about budgets again for the upcoming year. So I know it seems like we just finished budget, but we're already actually working on next year's budget as well. And I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving as well.
All right, let's not think about the budget until Thanksgiving is over. Let's enjoy the Thanksgiving first. Just like we had the budget discussion last week. Oh, my goodness. All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Good, that helps. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Good night, College Park.
All right.